Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
I love sports.
Sports. When
It comes to
Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men. We will graduate players. And we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
It's been special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
You know, we're good together. We bring ourselves. You bring me up, I bring you up. You bring me down, I bring you down, kind of thing. Like we have a good rapport. And when we go down a path, sometimes you're wondering where's David going with this?
I do.
We just talked Aggie football with Kelly a minute ago, and I don't want to start the show on Debbie Downer. Okay, so we're not going to do that. But it was kind of a Debbie Downer A&M football talk.
It was because we were talking about where the program stands today, and some things can change. And I think they're going to be really good on offense next year. Of course, I thought they were going to be really good on defense this year. Mm-hmm. So anyway, the point is, my question is, I don't know what has happened. And look, we got 8 months?
Yeah.
But here in the several weeks since the end of the season,
yep.
I don't know what has happened or is going to happen to make me feel better about the defense overall. Now, you can say, hey, they're going to cover better because they added this kid from Georgia as a corner and they added this kid from Washington as a corner. Tyreek Chappelle is going to be back from injury. Will Lee said he's coming back. We saw some good things from Dalton Brooks, and they just got to find another safety, even though Dalton Brooks missed some tackles. But so did everybody.
Right.
So you can say, all right, okay, I'll buy into that. Okay, they're going to be better at coverage. Need to be, and can't get much worse. But as we're talking, I'm saying, tell me where they're going to get, where's the pass rush going to come from?
Yeah.
Why? I need to know why. Why are they going to be better at stopping the run? Because we kept hearing, really from the first game, when there was gaping holes and guys running for big plays, they said, well, it's misfits. You know, they're not filling the hole. Misfits. Well, okay, I get that in the first game, but why are we talking about misfits later in the season?
Yeah.
And look, I'm sure Elko's on top of it, but if there's no changes, there has to be changes.
Well, I can come up with
reasons. And if it's not going to be coaching changes or personnel changes, what are the changes that's going to make it different?
I can come up with reasons, right?
Okay, tell me. I need them.
Well, I can come up with reasons. I just don't know if I 100% buy my reasons, right? I can tell you, and I believe this wholeheartedly, Des Ricks is going to be a much better player next year because, yes, he was a redshirt freshman. He was also 18 years old. I use this as an example. Do you remember, I think it was the Arkansas game in 21, I think. I might be wrong here, and they were picking on Tyreek Chappelle. And they were picking on Tyreek Chappelle. And they were picking on Tyreek Chappelle. And then he came back and was pretty solid the rest of the way. I guess my point is, I do think younger players, there should be a growth from year one to year two. There should be significant growth from Marcel Reed, from this first year of being the guy to the second year. There should be growth from Des Ricks. The word is should. I don't know if I 100% believe that everybody is going to be better because it's year two, but I think there should be a natural progression of a second year of a system and people get better. But if we're talking January the 7th, 2025, reasons will be better. I don't know if that's something I can put all my money down and say, this is why we're going to be better. It takes a name. It takes growth. It takes my eyes to see it. Instead of next year Nuño, unfortunately, I've become a couple years from now Nuño. Because when it comes to football, I need more than one good year. And I haven't had a good year since I've been at TexAgs. When I say a good year of football, I'm saying national prominence, which A&M was in the conversation this year, I understand that, where you finished the deal. You're a 9 or 10 win team going into your bowl game, not hoping to win 9 or 10 if you win out, and then, I need multiple years of it. Because you had 2012, 2013 was a step back. Sorry, it was.
It was a good year, but it wasn't. It was definitely.
It wasn't as good.
Well, because the defense was, I think, the worst defense I'd ever seen at Texas A&M.
Yeah. 2020 was awesome. I wasn't here for it, unfortunately. 2021 was the year of, man, if we didn't get hurt. 2022 was the year of, man, if we didn't play football, we'd be undefeated. 2023 was, we fired a coach. 2024, new regime. I am willing to be patient. I think a lot of us are willing to be patient. So I'm not all pessimistic, but I'm also not optimistic right now. I'm just like, we'll see. That's where I am with football as of right now. I like the changes they've made. I'd like to see some more. We'll see.
I know they brought in guys like in the defensive line from the portal. Okay, except are those guys? Are we going to assume that they are better than the guys who left? Because the guys who left, we heard, were all NFL caliber guys. So we're going to say a guy that had 1 sack and I don't know if this is true. He might have had one of that, but at Colorado, for instance, is going to be better than the guys that left. Where's the pass rush going to come from? Where are they going to be? Where's the run defense going to come from? Because if your linebackers are missing fits from game 1 where Notre Dame beat you because of long runs late, all the way the rest of the year, if people are missing fits all year, the same guy's going to be coaching them.
Well, here's an optimistic view on that.
Okay.
Coach Elko's outgoing press conference.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm not going to see defense like this again.
Right? Those words matter until they don't. Okay? And I believe it.
But he was talking about coverage.
But I think in general, we all know that team, if you give me that exact team with the pass rush as is, but could just tackle every once in a while?
Except the pass rush suddenly evaporated in November.
Yeah.
It just disappeared in November. I can't explain it. Auburn, what's his name? The Thorne is lighting them up.
Yeah.
So again, if you said, well, this is why it's going to be different in pass coverage, I have something to cling to.
Yep.
I have, they got 2 corners in the transfer portal. Both have been starters at big time programs. Okay, great. Chappelle's come back from injury. Yeah, and really, I got something.
I am super excited about that.
What do I have? Somebody tell me, what is there to say right now? You're going to be, I can be optimistic about the pass rush and the run defense. What is it?
So since let's not be complete Debbie Downers. You did say a moment ago, offensively, you think you're going to be far superior than you were this year.
I do. I do.
agree.
I think they've added speed at wide receiver. I know there's rumblings that Noah Thomas may be leaving, and I would prefer Noah stay, but I think that even if he leaves, and this is not a shot at him, but I'm just saying, even if he leaves, I think the wide receiver room
has a bit improved.
Is improved. You got Le'Veon, Reuben, and other guys coming in. So the running backs, we're fine there. I think everybody believes it. The offensive line was good last year, should be better this year because those guys have a whole full year of playing together. And Marcel, I think, I can't understand anyone that doubts him. Now, I mean, does he need to take care of the ball a little bit better? Yeah.
Yep.
Even though, in that bowl game, one of the interceptions is absolutely not his fault.
I'd like to see him read the field better. And again, I think that comes with experience.
Especially at that position.
Yeah.
At that position, probably more than any other. So offensively, I can look at the team and think, yeah, man, I think this is a team that's finally going to have an offense that is capable of going out and scoring 35 points a game consistently.
Is this the first time since I've been here or since Kellen Mond that you've had a quarterback who ended the season expected to start the next season? I think so.
Who ended the season?
Yeah, like as the guy.
Yeah, probably so.
right? Haynes got hurt.
Yeah. Connor got hurt.
Connor got hurt.
Max was always hurt.
Max got hurt. Right? Marcel.
The guy at Georgia Tech. Oh, you already said Haynes. Yeah.
Marcel played the bulk of the season, and especially the second half was the guy, and he's going to be your guy next year. So you're, for the first time since Kellen Mond, the quarterback that got the bulk of the starts and finished your season for you is coming back next year.
Yeah, I guess that's
That's
right.
optimistic. I mean, that's somewhere to start.
Coming back's not the right way to put it, though. Should start the next year, because 1 year max, I think got that 1 year where they had like everybody play quarterback.
Yeah.
I think Max had the most starts, but he wasn't going to be the starter. You know, Haynes was going to be the starter again. But
Right.
Your point is,
My point is the guy who finished the season for your team as the, not perceived starter, as the starter, is coming back next year as the starter.
Yeah, I feel more optimistic about the offense probably at any time since 2020.
Now, and again, all this is going to evolve, right? As information comes out, as practices happen, stuff will evolve. Some will be better. Some might not be as good as we thought, right?
Yeah. So they might start fitting the holes correctly.
And if we're going to evaluate the newcomers coming in using last year's thinking, and what I mean by that is that they did pretty well in the portal last year.
They did. They did do pretty well in the portal. And
Trey Watson was a valued piece of that offense.
he was a good addition.
Will Lee was
Excellent
great.
addition.
Nick Scorton, really good player, borderline great, just didn't finish the season the way we wanted to.
Yeah, I give him a B.
Yeah.
I think
if you get a bunch of Bs on your portal, like you need to get some As, but you get a bunch of Bs, do any of the portals get an A for you?
Yeah, I think Amaj Reed Adams got an A, and I think Will Lee got an A.
Yeah.
Right off the top of my head. If I thought about it some more, I might think of somebody else. But those two guys off the top of my head definitely got A's.
You give a B to Trey Watson?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you know,
Scooby? B?
solid B.
Solid B, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think he had
Cassius? B?
B. Thing with Cassius is you got to play run defense too.
Yeah.
And I don't think he was very good in the run defense. South Carolina.
So we don't want to be complete Debbie Downers, but that's just where we are today. And there's still a whole other portal window, and there's some guys going to be entering the portal that I haven't looked at the newest list. If the Arizona State guys have gone in, if Boise State guys, I haven't seen that. But as of right now, I feel better than I did after the Las Vegas Bowl. I feel better. I don't feel great yet. And that's just where we are.
I'm going to have to see a reason to feel good about the defense. Again, it's about stopping the run and wondering where the pass rush is going to come from.
If you go back and watch our shows in October, okay, 7-1, feeling great. We still had a lot of questions that we were worried about, tackling big plays. So even when things were really good, because you saw a path like, dude, this team's going to go to the SEC championship game. There was a point where I was like, I don't see how they don't make it to the SEC championship game in my mind, right? I was thinking like, they'll split between South Carolina and Auburn at the worst.
I'm still befuddled at that loss to Auburn. There were so many plays that could have gone the other way. Theo drops a pass that would have been huge, and then they get stopped on fourth down on the next play.
Thanks, Nick.
Marcel drops a snap on first down that put on a drive that could have put it away and put you behind the chain, so you end up punting, and you can't get a stop on that last and on that last drive in regulation. Then you drop a pass in overtime that could have kept that game going.
As our mutual buddy said to me, our buddy Brad, I'll just say that, it was my fault that A&M lost the Auburn game because I picked on Peyton Thorne for a year. And Peyton Thorne was masterful in that game.
And we've worn out the old narrative that whatever the other team where they seem to struggle,
they seem to figure it out.
Whether it be your quarterback can't throw or your offensive line can't protect or you can't run the ball, whatever it is.
Wide receivers are all in the portal. Doesn't matter. They're going to have a big game. Yeah. We warned you before the USC game that could happen because that's just the way last season went.
Well, unfortunately, it wasn't just last season. It's been something that's been a recurring nightmare for a few years now.
But we just saw a play of Marcel there. I'm super excited about him in the offense, 100%. And figure out how to tackle.
To me, a big part of tackling is A, being in the right position to make the tackle, and then B, having the right attitude to make the tackle.
You know the name of the show?
Yeah, it's the Go Hour. Or you mean TexAgs Live?
Yeah.
Okay.
But this particular hour
is the Go Hour.
That's presented by some friends of ours.
Yeah.
The Warehouse.
Yeah. At CC Creations.
Yeah. I like C and I like C a lot. C and C are good.
Yeah, didn't they?
Christian Cruz.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah, they named it after
Wasn't they a band like from the 80s, C&C Creations?
C&C Music Factory.
Oh, okay. Well,
in fact, we're going to come back with Something in the Heart. You know that song?
No, I don't.
Yeah, you do.
I really don't.
Yeah, I think you do.
Okay.
I think you do. We'll hear that song on the other side, whatever that song's called. Something in the Heart, I think it's called.
Okay.
So we talked about the studio. Where are we?
We are.
The entire studio, I mean.
The entire studio is the Rollo Insurance Studio.
Yeah, it's a great place. Every time people come in here for the first time, they're like, bro, this is nice.
Kind of the way people react when they go into the Rollo offices.
Very nice. Great coffee there, by the way, too. I don't know if you've had coffee. You don't drink coffee.
Yeah, I don't.
And this particular area, we're in one part of the Rollo Insurance Studio. We call this the holistic planning.
The cool zone.
By the way, they do what?
Zone. Well, they can help you with investments, your taxes, that's coming up, estate planning.
Yeah.
And back to the investments. They can help you invest in what?
Pro sports.
Yeah.
There's a website for that, by the way, investinprosports.com. If you want to be a part of the conversation with the Debbie Downers, all you need to do is call us up on the Boss Firearms Hotline, 979-693-1150. You can text that number as well. Let's say hi to the people. We go behind the glass, and I'm requesting only positive Nick, not a pessimistic Nick. I need positive Nick. Nick, good morning.
You got it, brother. Good morning. How are y'all?
Brother.
Hey, brother. I can't do that. I'll get made fun of by Billy. But anyways, positive. Kind of a two-pronged question for y'all, completely off topic of what y'all were talking about. The playoff games are Thursday and Friday this week. They're not even on Saturday because I guess the NFL owns Saturdays now when it comes to playoff time. But I guess first question is, do y'all like that they're playing these games on Thursday and Friday? And secondly, I guess just your initial thoughts. I know we'll talk about it a lot more later on in the week, but initial thoughts on the Cotton Bowl and the Orange Bowl.
I think I'd prefer on the weekends, OB, personally. I don't consume the NFL like I used to. I still watch it, and, playoffs obviously have my attention. But I understand, we'll have some numbers later. I have it at the desk, but the numbers that the college football playoffs did against the NFL games.
Oh, yeah. You're never going to beat the NFL.
I mean, it wasn't even close. Texans, Chiefs, doubled whatever the Boise State Penn State game was.
This isn't college football making this decision. This is television making this decision. So, it is what it is. I'll watch it, whenever they play. I prefer college football always play on Saturday, but I get it.
Do you understand how they do ratings when a lot of people watch multiple games? Either they have the screen with the 4 games on their screen, or they go bounce around, or they got multiple TVs.
Yeah, I'm constantly bouncing around.
Yeah.
I don't even know how ratings work. I mean, no one's ever called me to ask me what I'm watching. If somebody got a machine that's able to detect what I'm watching, if it is, then I don't want that. Well, I don't want anybody paying attention to what I do in the privacy of my own home.
Actually, there's an unscientific poll out there that has this as the number 1 show at 8 o'clock on The Zone.
Actually, I think it is a very scientific poll in this case, and we are the number 1 radio slot for here in
on this station.
Number 1 show
at this time.
I think in all of College Station.
On the zone. Nick, you had 2 questions, or was that just one? I'm sorry.
I would just, initial thoughts on the games Thursday and Friday.
Rooting for Ohio State, and I'm kind of neutral on Penn State, Notre Dame.
I'm not.
I like James Franklin. I like Marcus Freeman. I like both those guys.
I've met James Franklin, and I like him.
Nice guy.
Yeah, he's a good dude. I hate Notre Dame. I've hated Notre Dame for years. It's rare. Only on the rarest occasions will I root for Notre Dame, and this ain't one of them. So we are Penn State. I'm all for the Knits in this one. The other one, I kind of feel bad for Texas. People want to talk about, their coach may be leaving.
Oh,
who would bring that up?
Oh, man.
Who would bring up?
Should they open the roof at AT&T Stadium that day?
They won't.
It's supposed to be. I know. I'm completely kidding, but it's supposed to be like
whatever they
snowing.
can do. Here, Ohio State is the better football team.
I believe that. I think they're the best football team in the field.
And they're a team that kind of frustrates me, maybe how Texas does their fans as well, because they can look so pedestrian one week, and then the last 3 weeks of football, they've been who we thought they were going to be. They are who we thought they were.
Yeah, I think it's almost like a team that knew they were good, and so they just kind of showed up for a while, and that was good enough. And then they got the slap in the face. Even when they lost to Oregon, we let that one get away. Our quarterback made a mistake that he normally wouldn't have made. And they got a fluke on an onside kick, and we were at their place. Yeah, we got this. And then they got slapped in the face against Michigan. They went, wait a minute. All right, we got to get this stuff together. And they look like they've gotten it together.
Yeah, they look like they've gotten it together.
And gosh, the receivers there. Man, that fresh Jeremiah Smith, there's your first round, the first player taken in the draft in 3 years or 2 years, whatever it is.
Yeah, you know what? We'll do this. We'll hit a break here. We will come to Callie at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center in the next segment, because we went long. Football talk. We gotta get let's talk about a number 1 basketball team or a top 10 basketball team on the other side. Let's talk about that game against Oklahoma. We got performance of the week to get into. We got a lot of talking points to get into, all right?
Let's do it.
All right. But let's talk about making some money. Can I say it like that? Money. You say it like that. Try
money.
It. All right. How would you make money?
Show me the money.
Good movie. Yeah. A little overrated, but good. Did you like Jerry Maguire?
Yeah.
You watched it, Callie? Yeah.
I think you should just assume my answer is always going to be no.
I feel like that's the kind of movie, a sports movie you should have watched.
What movie is it?
Jerry Maguire.
Oh, no.
Do you know who's in it? No. If you were to guess what actor is in it, out of all the most famous actors in the world that maybe do Scientology?
I saw it while on a cruise.
Thomas Cruise, yes. Do you know what Jerry Maguire is about?
No.
It's about a podiatrist.
Oh.
All right, prizepicks.com. Right?
Yeah.
It is about a podiatrist, yeah. Show me the money. He's trying to get all the money he can for all of his doctors. No? Prizepicks.com/TexAgs.
They'll show you the money.
They will. Well, you can show yourself the money if you pick more than or less than 2 to 6 player stat projections. You go there, and by the way, use the code TexAgs. You'll get $50 once you play in $5 lineups. You are going to have the opportunity for any game you want. NBA games, college football playoff games, UFC, NFL playoffs. When baseball's back, all these games, you can choose 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll. Prizepicks.com/TexAgs. Use the code TexAgs. What is this? Is this on your playlist, bro?
I thought somebody was skinning a cat.
That was terrible. I don't know if that's CC Music Factory. If it is, I apologize. That's not the one I was thinking about, but all good. TexAgs Live, presented by a gem of a man.
Yeah, David Gardner.
David Gardner's Jewelers.
Gem of a guy.
Rollo Insurance Studio Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. I do want to read this. Ag Engineering 12 has different numbers than I have.
Okay.
He says Nuño, Penn State, Boise State got almost 14 million viewers. The Ohio State-Oregon matchup was listed from as the most watched non-sporting event since the last national championship. The article I read, John Oran of the Sports Business Journal says the Chiefs-Texans matchup had 15.5 million viewers, while SMU Penn State averaged 6.4. Steelers-Ravens averaged 15.4, while the Clemson-Texas game averaged 8.6. So there might be different numbers, different people reporting, but I think the bottom line is college football would like to not compete with the NFL, regardless of what the numbers were.
Yes. Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Just like the NFL doesn't want to compete with college football. I mean, they think they're going to win, but they'd rather...
Yeah, they're going to win. And the networks know this, so they don't want to put their inventory up against inventory that's going to take audience away from them.
And let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Can you read the text from the 713 number, and then we'll get into some thoughts, shall we?
Yes. It says, we have a top 10 basketball team, and y'all are spending 15 minutes complaining about what's going to happen next football season. Come on.
The beauty is it's a 3-hour radio show.
So true.
And we have lots of basketball on the show. And I'm going to talk football every day of the show.
Well, there's never a bad time to talk about college football.
And not a bad time to talk about the top 10 basketball
especially
team.
A&M. But you're right. A&M has a top 10 basketball team for the first time in recent memory.
So we've got on the show, we're going to talk basketball, you and I, right? At 9 o'clock, we have Justin Lanham. He talks basketball. Joni Taylor talks basketball.
Yeah. She had a big win.
She did. Dane Bradshaw, he talks basketball. SEC Network. He was at the game. Eddie Radosevich, he covers Oklahoma. We'll find out. Did I say it correctly?
I don't know. I don't know him.
He covers Oklahoma. We're going to find out a little bit about Oklahoma basketball. And Chad Withrow from Outkick talks everything. So we've got basketball, football, and lacrosse in this hour. We go back to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Carlita.
I was a little confused. Was the Chiefs and Texans game, was that not the one on Christmas Day?
Yes, it was.
So that was the game on Netflix.
On Netflix.
So how are they averaging 15.5 million when games that are played on cable are 6.4? That's insane to me.
Does Netflix have that many
I didn't even
viewers?
know they had 15 point. I mean, I share an account.
Uh-oh.
So like.
Is that allowed?
No.
Don't say it on the, just say yes, I'm at live at home.
Sorry, Netflix. If you're watching.
Alexa, stop listening. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about basketball, but first the A&M baseball team is going to start the season as the top-ranked team in the nation according to Perfect Game. This is their first time in program history that the Aggies will open the season as the number one team inside the Perfect Game preseason poll. And D1 baseball, which I know is the one that a lot of people pay attention to, will release their poll on Monday. So keeping an eye out for that. And then along the preseason track, the Texas A&M women's tennis team heads into the 2025 season ranked as the number 2 team in the nation. They're coming off their best season in program history, where they brought home their first ever national championship and a third consecutive SEC title, finishing the year 28-7. So I know everyone's anticipating another awesome season from the tennis team.
Yeah, good stuff.
Did you see who's number 2 on that preseason baseball top 25?
Tennessee?
No.
I don't know who was 2, but I know Tennessee was 5.
The
LSU.
Tigers.
Yeah, LSU.
Oh, they're going to be good.
Yeah, a lot of smack talk going to be going on in my house.
That's all it is.
That's fun, though.
And it's not fun.
It's fun
That's
when
not
you're
your favorite thing to do.
the guy doing the talking. When you have the advantage, it's fun.
Everyone in your family's an Aggie. Who are you trash talking?
No, anyone.
Oh, you mean in
to
general?
Me. Yeah.
Randos, I don't care.
My cousin's a Razorback, so we've got that angle going.
I guess cousins I can deal with.
Yeah.
Children?
She knows nothing either, so it's fun for me.
See, we'll see in a couple years. But I have not cloned. I have, what's the word I'm looking for here? A little witchcraft, a little voodoo. Like, my kids only root for A&M sports, even though my wife went to Texas. They think Texas is gross.
They're well raised.
Yeah, they're great. That dad, awesome.
My brother will sometimes play the anti-angle. Like, he'll sometimes come in with random teams that he wants to win in college football.
Just to be difficult.
Yes, 1,000%.
When we come back, we will talk some Aggie basketball. We'll do some performance of the week. By the way, that song was from Michelle Lay. Not Michelin, Michelle Lay.
Huh.
It was not on my playlist.
Never heard of her.
It's on Nick Savage's playlist. He's
Never heard of Michelle Lay.
Yeah, wow.
She have anything to do with the potato chips?
No. But she had some big hits in the late 80s, early 90s, I believe.
Really?
Michelle Lay, yeah. Huge.
Huh.
And for some reason, I feel like Dr. Dre and her got into a scuffle. I might be making this up.
So there's a fight between Dre and Lay?
Not like fight, but I got to Google Michelle Lay, Dr. Dre. See if I'm on something.
I'm on it.
All right. We could take Dr. Dre to eat lunch one day with your Beats headphones.
Yeah, well, I don't know the guy. So if he was in here, I wouldn't know who he was. But
you wouldn't recognize him if he walked in?
No. Oh. But, if he seemed all right guy and he wanted to be a sponsor and everything, we wanted to get him in a good mood.
Yeah.
And have a great lunch. We'd say, hey, Dre, I got an idea. Why don't we go out? You like barbecue? Well, who doesn't? Texas barbecue. Well, let's venture out to 1775, and it'll be just what the doctor ordered.
It ain't nothing but a BBQ thing, buddy. It ain't nothing but a BBQ thing.
Yeah, but a great BBQ thing.
Yeah, so good. It's delicious.
Yeah.
And then you can get carbs there. I mean, you can get carbs everywhere.
You get the ultimate carb there.
The ultimate carb.
Yeah, the queso mac and cheese.
We should probably have like a drinking of the cheese segment one day on the air, and then eat. Just a combination of the two.
I would. I have to admit, when I become like 5-year-old Olin when I'm eating because I eat that mac and cheese, and then the remnants of it.
Oh, you got to scoop it up, right?
Well, I just pick it up. I'll just lick the bowl.
Okay.
Yeah.
I use a piece of bread and whatever it takes.
I just
they're open.
Lick it.
Pardon?
That bowl. I'll just lick all that cheese out of there.
Open Thursday through Saturday, 11 a.m. until they're sold out. Online ordering turns off at 10 a.m. 8203 Raymond Stosser Parkway in College Station. Call them up, 979-492-6241, 1775txbbq.com.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggieland Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Lucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggieland Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggieland Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Lucci sent you by.
Go ahead.
I can hear the dials on
Turning it
car
up.
radios turning off.
No, they're turning it up.
Switching stations.
That's my buddy Benito.
Benito Santiago?
No, not Benito Santiago. What a great catcher he was. No, San Benito.
San Benito.
Bad Bunny.
Oh, San Benito down near Brownsville, the Greyhounds.
Bad Bunny has a new album out, by the way.
San Benito's the hometown of the late, great Freddie Fender.
Is that right?
Yeah, it has his picture up on the water tower as you're driving into town.
Hey, it's TexAgs Live.
Yeah.
Presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Anything else left out?
Anything? We having coffee today or anything?
No coffee. No.
Okay.
No. Have you noticed my caffeine intake much lower? Cup a day max.
No TexAgs coffee?
Not right now.
Okay. And some firearms?
I love firearms. Yeah. I'm big in the firearm community.
I know that now.
I go to the meetings along with hunting. I got a lot of meetings I go to now. Hunting, fishing, firearms. Yesterday at jiu-jitsu, we should get to sports, but yesterday at jiu-jitsu, I feel really bad for the guy that I went against.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, he was a tryhard. Nice guy. A tryhard, but I outweighed him by like 30 pounds. I kind of hurt him.
In about 5 years, I'll be 40 pounds.
Yes, it will be. Shout out to Brazos Valley MMA. All right, OB, let's do the performance of the week. Can we do that?
Yeah.
All right, because I think we got a lot of basketball to do here. I mean, maybe you have an NFL one you want to do. Maybe you got a college football playoff one, but I wanted to start with basketball.
I will say, okay, let's start with basketball. There are some NFL ones, but basketball, I'm still so impressed with that win over Texas. And I don't know that I could point out, again, such an ultimate team win.
Yep.
Pharrell Payne, Zurich Phelps, Hayden Hefner, Wade Taylor. People say, he didn't play as well, and he was hurt, and he missed a lot of time, still had 13 points.
A bad game with 13? Come on.
That's what I'm saying.
No.
Did you see the block shot? A couple of block shots that Solomon Washington had, but one of them up at the three-point circle. It just made the guy eat the ball. Just such a outstanding performance.
Well, let's go individual. Let's start with Pharrell Payne. Yeah. Pharrell had a huge game, 15 points, 5 of 6, 5 rebounds. He had a block in that game and just provided a presence in the paint that Texas had to think about, which also, even though A&M had a bad night shooting the ball from the three-point line, had the defense having to guess what was going to happen.
Yeah, and Pharrell Payne is really, he has checked the box that was needed for some offense down in the paint. Pharrell Paint, or as our friend Tom Hart, Major Payne called him. Oh, Major Payne. Yeah, I like Pharrell Paint better.
Yeah, Zurich Phelps.
Zurich Phelps he is so fast. Sometimes he's too fast. He outruns himself.
His shoes are left behind.
And there will be a turnover here and there. But man, was he effective against Texas? He was just blowing by players and laying up, and he got a lot of his points in the paint as well on driving layups. Yeah, he was exceptional. You remember that there was a play where it looked like A&M was either had a turnover or about to have a turnover, and then he steals it and puts it right back up. I mean, it was those timely plays. Again, they won by 20. They destroyed a team that's not in the top 25 that has a lot of talent. Yeah, they do. And, that's a proud program that's had a lot of success. But they had no success in the second half when they got outscored by 20, when A&M just absolutely dominated them, especially in the, last 7 minutes, where sometimes A&M has gone cold and struggled? No, not this time. Nope. No, they just put the pedal to the metal. Yeah, I love when I do that. Yeah. I love to drive fast. I go about 40. They were driving fast. You know what? They were all gas and no brakes. We're going to talk about that in a second. In Aggie women's basketball, I mean, what a fourth quarter. They were down 12 in the fourth quarter and 16 in the second half. Yes. And once again, maybe that's just an A&M thing now. Just going to dominate the fourth quarter. Jade Malone, 7 of 7 from the field. Third time perfect shooting this season. 14.7 rebounds. I think that's pretty darn good for the performance of the week. Yeah. Yeah, Jada Malone.
Jada Malone, big game. All right, let's do this, OB. Let's on the other side of the segment. Let's talk about when whispers happen before a big game. Okay?
Okay.
Because sometimes it's, sometimes I think it's media made, or excuse me, opposing program made.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think it's truth to it. So we'll talk about that on the other side. But before we do that, we're going to talk about another community that I'm a part of, the hunting community, birddog.com. Actually spoke to Jonathan Lusk yesterday. They're an Aggie owned and operated company creating hunting opportunities. Think of it as a Airbnb for hunting. They make it easy for the landowners to get more hunters and make more money on their ranches, and they still do that. But I want to let you know they're adding to their family of ranches, and those landowners are making money thanks to Bird Dog's efforts. It's not just getting folks on your land to go hunt, right? There's a lot more to it. They're helping landowners aggregate tax benefits. We mostly know about ag exemptions and wildlife, but there's so many more opportunities. They do the work for you, and they find out what you qualify for. So if you're farming or running cattle on your land, Bird Dog's going to optimize and find you those tax benefits. Some of those clients are making an extra $100 to $500 per acre of land. They can be your personal consultant and help you maximize the income on your land. If you're a ranch broker, you need to talk to them as they can help you buy or sell or understand the additional ways to make money. Remember, they are a full-service hunting experience for many of you, and for the landowners, they're going to take care of you as well. BirdDogIt.com is the website, BirdDogIt.com. Everyone, David Nuño here in a moment right now for Snaps Clothing. They are the makers of the only official licensed Texas A&M Pearl Snap shirts. I'm wearing it right now. This is part of their Tailgater collection. It's built for game day. My friend Edgar over there is doing great work. You've got to check out the clothing. It's the Pearl Snaps. It's the cool look. It's kind of hip, but also Western. You'll love it, and they have great stuff there. They'll keep you comfortable as you're repping your Aggie gear, and it's the place to go to get it. Whether you're watching the game from home or tailgating before watching the stands, these shirts have you covered. Head to snapsclothing.com. That is snapsclothing.com to gear up for the season. I'm glad I got to my playlist. It's TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers.
Big Brooks and Dunn fan.
Actually, I am. I got them on my playlist. Yeah.
I bet Jason Rollo's a fan of Brooks and Dunn.
100%. Actually, I've never asked him.
I bet he is, though.
Yeah. You a big Cher fan? Were you a big Cher fan back in the day? Musically?
No, I mean, I didn't. I was ambivalent.
Ambivalent. All right, let's keep it in sports. So, Chris Del Conte, I worked, I don't want to say worked with him. I covered him when he was at Rice. He went to Rice, to TCU, to Texas. I'm kind of familiar with his game. He is complaining, and I know there's a lot of our Texas listeners here listening, but he's complaining about these all of a sudden links to Steve Sarkisian in the NFL. We've got a game to play. He said it like that.
Yeah.
We've got a game to play, brother.
Yeah, A&M had one to play in Omaha as well.
Oh, yeah, is that right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to comment. Somebody's just creating fodder before our biggest game. That's stupid.
You know, hypocrisy is a very unfortunate characteristic to have,
Mm-hmm.
and yet it seems to be quite common in certain areas.
Mm-hmm.
Austin being one of those areas, because although he denied it, I believe it was calculated last year when they announced that their baseball coach was fired, and therefore opened up all the talk about where guys might be going and all this, and it happened on the day that A&M was going to be playing for the national championship.
That's right.
Imagine that. And then, as we know, the day that this coach was no longer at Texas, it comes out that he was, that same night, the coach at Texas A&M said that he had no plans to leave Texas A&M.
Mm-hmm.
So in less than a 24-hour period, that came out that, oh, gosh, Texas brought up that was coming out and created all this turbulence. And then about 24 hours later, the coach at Texas A&M was going to Texas.
Yeah.
And you could say maybe I don't think Aggies. I thought Aggies were classy enough not to try to use that as an excuse. They were upset about it. They were pissed off, but they didn't use it as an excuse.
I thought it was classless, but whatever. Like, Tennessee was a really good baseball team,
and
obviously.
And now, the guy that says he did not have anything to do with that, coming out at the certain time, is upset that not even the day of the game, but the week of the game, that he's asked about rumors that have surfaced about his football coach maybe that NFL teams may be interested in him, and he doesn't want the distraction.
Yeah, he doesn't want the distraction. That's interesting. But he created a distraction, because I believe that he created that distraction on purpose. I think there was a calculated effort to undermine A&M's College World Series championship run against Tennessee.
I believe that as well. So,
but away from that, and not even about Sark, just in general, I don't see the value typically, not always, of leaving a college football program for the NFL.
More money.
How much is Sark making?
I have no idea. He's probably a $10 million coach.
What are they paying NFL coaches these days?
It'll be more than that. You're not going to go for less money. Here's the other thing. Now, especially, coaching in the NFL becomes more structured.
Yeah.
You don't have the transfer portal guys going in and out.
This is true.
Now it's controlled. You don't have to recruit.
So here's some salaries for you in the NFL.
Okay.
Andy Reid, $20 million, Super Bowl champion. Sean Payton, $18 million, Super Bowl champion. Mike Tomlin, $16 million, Super Bowl champion. Jim Harbaugh, $60 million, Super Bowl runner-up. Sean McVay, $15 million, Super Bowl champion. Kyle Shanahan, $14 million.
Non-Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Super Bowl losing coach as an offensive coordinator. Super Bowl giving away by making poor choices in play calling late against the Patriots.
Dan Campbell, $11 million, by the way, if you were wondering.
Soon to be Super Bowl champion.
Soon to be Super Bowl champion. Soon to get a raise.
Yeah, but I don't know what Sarkisian's making, but if there's an NFL team, what? 10.3? So NFL team's going to offer him more than that.
Yep.
They are.
Call it $14 million. Here's the why you would want to do it. Because, like as you mentioned, college football has become a year-round gig, nonstop stress, and you're constantly fighting battles with your own guys. It's year-round. NFL, year-ish around, but there's definitely, you're not recruiting your own players all the time.
Yeah, and see, here's another thing. At the NFL, you pick your players. In college football, the players pick you.
Yeah.
That's a big difference. I mean, you do have to do some recruiting in free agency, but nothing like you have to do in college.
What teams are interested in Sark? The report I didn't even see. Is it Cowboys?
Be fine with me.
Yeah.
Almost anybody's an upgrade over what they have.
OB, fun hour, buddy. Thank you very much.
Good to be here.
All right, when we come back on TexAgs Live, more basketball talk. Justin Lanham, our TexAgs basketball analyst, will join us. We'll chit-chat with him about the win over Texas and obviously looking ahead at the Oklahoma game tomorrow. That and more, you're listening to TexAgs Live. Hey, surprised to see you here. It's TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Boss Firearms hotline, and we're joined by our TexAgs basketball analyst, Justin Lanham. What's going on, bud? How you been?
What's up, David? I feel like I haven't talked to you in a while.
Been a minute. You were traveling, and I was out for a little bit, so it was good to catch up, man. How you been?
I've been good, man. How about you?
I'm good. I'm good. You know, I'm actually doing significantly better because this basketball season, I think two things have happened. They're playing as good or better than I expected before the season started. And then if you go to a moment in time, like game 1 or Oregon, I'm like, God, here we go again, man. This team can't hit threes. They can't do that. And they go in these 6-minute droughts where they can't score. And they are a top 10 basketball team because they know their identity and they play it to a very high level, Justin.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the great thing for me is I feel like you're getting it done by committee. You know, I think different guys are showing up each night. You at the end of the first half, of the Texas game, you got guys in foul trouble, but guys somehow you're able to kind of stay with Texas in that moment whenever Phelps and Wade are both out at the same time. And so, I think you've got guys that just consistently are stepping up whenever they need to. So I think that's really exciting to see.
Talking to Justin Lanham here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. All right. So let's take these guys in parts. Earlier in the show, we talked Zurich and Pharrell. We're going to get to them here in a moment. But for you, I'm watching that game, and I watch Hayden Hefner, and he's one of these players that, like, when he is good, he is really good. But not in the kind of really good Wade Taylor kind of way that we appreciate. More like he makes game-changing plays or helping momentum continue. And that's exactly what he did this past weekend.
Yeah, it's just the little stuff, the little things that he does and that allows him to stay on the floor. Because you mentioned it, you said it. Whenever he has a great game, it's not going to be the same great game that Wade Taylor has, right? But he's able to stay on the floor. He gets deflections. He gets those offensive rebounds, those putbacks that you need at crucial times. And I'll say this, I thought out of all the guys, obviously everybody played extremely hard. But I felt like almost like a sense that Hayden Hefner wanted that more than anybody else on that team. Again, that doesn't take away from anybody else. I think everybody else wanted to win that game, but it just felt like watching Hayden play, it just felt like he really, really wanted that one.
Talking to Justin Lanham here on TexAgs Live. All right, let's talk about how his role has evolved, though, okay? Because I forget who was talking about it. Was it Buzz yesterday on the show? He used to be the get-back guy, and now he's actually helping initiate the offense from where they are. And that's a trust factor, right? Like, that's Buzz, like, believing that this guy is athletic enough to help push things down the court. Explain that from a coach's philosophy.
Yeah, I think whenever you have trust in guys, I think that's like an important position within Buzz's offense, right? Like, Buzz has, his guys that are going to attack the glass, and then he has his get-back guys. And so I think that just goes with the trust factor. And I don't think that you have that trust if you don't have a guy for as long as you've had a guy like Hayden Hefner, right? He's been in the system. He's got some familiarity with Buzz. They know who each other are. They know their strengths. They know their weaknesses, just like Wade Taylor. Buzz, I'm sure, definitely feels like Wade Taylor's an extension of him on the floor, and that's what you want from a point guard. But then also, when you have that with a couple of other guys, I think that's why you're seeing the consistency that you're seeing with this A&M basketball team.
Talking to Justin Lanham as we break down A&M's game against Oklahoma here, as we still kind of look at the Texas game for a moment. Pharrell Payne's ability to defensively alter the thinking of the opposing team, and then offensively, they have to account for him because he can score with his back to the basket. He can live above the rim. He's just the presence that the defense has to think about.
For sure. The thing that I really liked about Payne this last game is the fact that whenever he was running the floor, number one, he was sprinting the floor. I think we even got a pitch ahead to him one time. It was kind of a dangerous pass, but he's so athletic. He went up and grabbed it and just was able to lay it up at the rim. But the one thing that I thought was different about this game for Payne is I thought he was, every time he caught the ball, I felt like he was really deep in the paint. He caught it, right next to the rim. He wasn't having to make 2 or 3 different moves. he was able to bury his guy. That's what you want as a coach. You want guys sprinting the floor, getting deep so that you can bury your guy. And all you have to do is that little hook shot over your left or right shoulder, and you're scoring right at the rim at 2 feet away. So I think that was the key to success. I think Hayden Hefner had a really nice post-entry pass to him one time, and all he had to do was just turn over his left shoulder and score the basket. And so I think that just shows you how good and how physical Payne is whenever he's able to basically get that deep in the paint every time, and we're able to get paint touches that deep in the paint.
What do you think Payne does for Henry's game? Like what along with allowing him not to be that physical post presence, like he can square up and attack the rim a little bit more if they're both in, or they can give him a change of pace look when they put him at the 5.
Well, I'll tell you this, David, when you have two good posts that know how to space, then they can really complement each other. But the opposite of that can be true too, is if you have two post players that are just taking up space, you can really complicate your offense because you don't have any space on the floor. And so when you're able to play off of each other, you got a guy at the high post, you got a guy in the short corner, and they have great spacing, then that really helps your offense out. And I think that they do that. I think they complement each other really well. I think Payne he's so good because he's always kind of lurking in that dunker spot. I think you saw it at the end of the game. The Ags were able to toss up a alley-oop for him essentially right at the rim to kind of end things there at the end of the game. And so I think whenever you've got guys that space the floor well, obviously it can be a positive. But sometimes whenever you've got too much, it's like that old school basketball that we used to see where you got 3 guys on the outside, and you got 2 guys on the inside just setting post-to-post screens for each other. But I think that they really complement each other really well.
Justin, you worried about Wade Taylor at all? Not necessarily, because he was a little banged up in that game, and you could tell he wasn't feeling great. The production was still pretty darn good for a guy who wasn't at 100%.
Yeah, I worry about it being a nagging issue. I think that groin issue can be nagging, and if you don't give it time to heal, I think that can be something that can kind of nag you for the rest of the season, and you hate to see that because then you're in and out of the lineup. There's some inconsistency. Different guys are coming in at different times of the lineup that normally aren't getting those types of minutes. So, but it was encouraging to see, Manny come in whenever Phelps and Wade went out there in the first half with 2 fouls. It was encouraging to see Manny come in and, run that offense. I thought he did a pretty good job with it. Obviously, like I said, they were able to stay neck and neck with Texas there in the first half. And so, I thought Manny did a pretty good job, so that gives you a little bit of comfort. If he can stay under control and just run the offense, I think that gives you a little bit of comfort.
Well, let's talk about Manny because I've always liked this game, man. Like, there's times he frustrates me, but that's basketball, right? Especially in today's basketball. You could watch a player like Wade Taylor, who we love, shoot a 3 that, like, you have no business shooting, and then he makes it, and they're like, oh, that's why he shot it, because he can make it every 3 times, right? At 33% from 40 feet behind. Just talk a little bit about Manny's, I don't want to say growth, but him kind of feeling his way through this season.
Yeah, and listen, I'll be honest, and this is not a knock at Buzz, this is not a knock at the coaching staff, but I feel like his minutes that he gets sometimes are tough. And what I mean by that is he plays pretty sporadically, like they put him in at like different times. And so that's kind of hard as a player, especially coming off the bench. Like, you've got to be ready in those moments. And sometimes that's hard. Like, you don't know when your name's going to be called. You don't know when your number's going to be called. So being ready to play at those times is tough. But I think if he, and I'm sure that this is something that's said all the time, but if he can just stay under control, I think he's as good as anybody we've got. I mean, honestly, he's as athletic as anybody we've got for sure. And so if he picks and chooses the right times to attack the basket, picks and chooses the right shots to take, he can be really, really good.
Talking to Justin Lanham here on TexAgs. Justin, there's things about this team that doesn't matter the year that we appreciate about the way a Buzz Williams basketball team plays. But for this particular brand, this 2024-2025 version of this A&M basketball team, what are you most impressed by? What is something about this team you're like, this is where they can hang their hat beyond what we're used to?
Yeah, I'm not going to go the offensive rebounding route because we all know that. But defensively, I just think they have been extremely, extremely solid. I think last year we got into these long closeouts because we were helping in the wrong times or over helping. which that is a thing. You can overhelp too much, and then you put yourself in bad rotations on the backside. But I think that this team has done a really, really good job of kind of the no middle defense. They're forcing guys to the baseline, and then they've got their rotations. You can tell that they have practiced that. You can tell they know what to do on those backside rotations. And so I think the even guys on the that commentated that game on Saturday, I think they even talked about it, about how a lot of times whenever you have a team like that that's forcing the baseline, you have hammer screens, you have hammer just trying to get shots in the backside corner. And I think our guys have handled those really, really well. I will say this, Texas did miss some open shots and that could have made that game a little bit closer. But I thought our guys did a really good job of closing out, and I thought our guys did a really, really good job of help defense.
Well, Justin, let's kind of continue down that track, because I'm watching this game and I'm trying to explain to my family why A&M is okay with certain guys getting free looks, right? It kind of explained the philosophy behind it, because when they doubled a team or they're kamikazing towards one direction, they want it to be pushed in a certain direction.
Yeah, I think that's you controlling where the ball goes, essentially, right? And so if you can control, you know where the shots are going to come from. So number one, you're going to be better on the defensive glass, right? Because you know where the ball's coming from. And then number two, you practice those rotations. I can't tell you as a coach myself how many times that we would just practice certain rotations, baseline drive, kick to the corner. All right, we're going to have to X out on the backside, and then you practice those rotations. And so if you can dictate where the ball's going to go, you're more prepared for that. You've repped those. And so it's just an easier look and an easier way to get the defensive rebound.
Talking to Justin Lanham. Hey, Justin, another thing about the defense that I find interesting, the second half adjustments that we're seeing this team do. Both talked about it on the show yesterday, but I think that is something like, yeah, they're successful. Their opponents may be successful doing something like this, but then they find a way is either to take the best player out of the game or shut down this part of the offense that's working. They've been really good in second halves.
Yeah, and a lot of times, I'm not trying to like oversimplify this because it's not simple, but I think a lot of the times it's how you're guarding the ball screen. Like that's the name of the game. Like there's different ways to guard the ball screen, and a lot of the times that's the main adjustment. To be honest with you, are you switching it? Are you hard hedging it? Are you soft hedging? Are you doubling? Are you playing drop coverage? There's so many different ways to guard the ball screen, but a lot of times that's the main adjustment that you're going to see from half to half. It's really not much else. A lot of the time, I mean, unless you're going from a matchup zone to a man defense, but a lot of the times it's how you're guarding the ball screen is the name of the game.
So this team, already battle tested because of their non-conference, goes to a team in Oklahoma that I think they're really good. Their record says they're really good. They just got humbled on the road against Alabama, and that's going to happen. Alabama's a ridiculously good team. Going on the road, obviously, is already tough. What do you think about this matchup with Oklahoma?
Well, I'll say this. I haven't watched a ton of OU, but I will. This past summer, I took a high school basketball team out to OU team camp, and I was able to see some of their guys get put through a shooting workout, and they did a little transition shooting drill, and I think those guys can fill it up. So I think that's something that we have to watch for. They definitely have some guys that can shoot. And the other thing is it's always scary to come off a big win like this. So it'll be interesting to see how A&M responds after coming off a big win like this. But look, you said it. A lot of people are probably looking at OU like, oh man, they lost big time to Alabama, but we all know who Alabama is. And so I think OU will be ready Wednesday night.
Speaking of Alabama, all right, we know the life in the SEC is ridiculous, but Nick just had the A&M schedule up a moment ago. You've got this Oklahoma game on the road. Then you host number 5 Alabama. Then you go on the road to number 6 Kentucky. Then you take on an LSU team and a top 25 Ole Miss team. This schedule is not forgiving. So yeah, you had an emotional game against a very good Texas team. The schedule only gets harder after Oklahoma, and I think Oklahoma's pretty good. Number 5 Alabama. So this stretch of these next 3 games, I don't know if they're going to tell us everything because there's still so much season after that, but a huge test.
Yeah, this is a moment too that you better hope that you have a little bit of depth, right? Because, and especially if Wade has that little nagging injury, you're really hoping that you have some depth to kind of cover you for these next couple of games, because the last thing you want to do is play a tough OU team, go into an Alabama game where guys are tired, guys are a little banged up, nicked up. And so maybe I think you might see a few more minutes from Jace Carter, CJ Wilcher, guys like that can hopefully step up and give you some quality minutes these next couple of games.
Yeah. If Wade is a little bit limited, all right, I'm not going to predict out. Like if he's a little limited, offensively, you're not as worried as you were in years past, right?
No, definitely not. I think Phelps, his emergence, I think, you can, I'll just say this, you can go some different ways, right? You can go the Manny route. You can have CJ in that's more of a shooting threat, Jace Carter, Hayden Hefner. I think you have some different options. Does that mean it's going to be easier? No, it's still going to be tough because Wade is who he is. And you miss a guy like that. I mean, that's definitely going to hurt. But I do think there are some other options where maybe in the years past, you didn't have as many options to look at.
Yeah. And not only options, they can just play differently, right? They don't just have to hero ball or 3-point shoot. They have multiple sets that they can run through now where they feel, look, I thought Julius Marble was a big loss to them last year because they had he gave them a post presence that they had prepared for, and then he was gone. And I thought they adjusted fantastic, right? The adjustment, and then Andy's kind of story kind of takes over a new part. But now with Pharrell Payne in the middle and the ability to score inside, outside, face up, back to the basket, I think limits. We still see some of those scoring droughts, right? I mean, they didn't hit any threes. They were 2 of 19, I think it was. But it does provide them a different way of scoring.
Yeah, I mean, I think that whenever you're able to feed the ball inside, you're able to get Payne touches inside. Again, we've talked about this before, that it frees the outside up. And again, a lot of times we talk about all these guards, but we don't even talk about sometimes like Solomon Washington's ability to score, Anderson Garcia's ability to score. And so I think that in these moments, whenever Wade is out, hopefully you see those emergence of those guys.
Justin, great stuff, brother. Enjoy your week, and we'll talk to you soon, all right?
Appreciate you, David.
See you, man. Justin Lanham here on the Boss Firearms Hotline. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with Joni Taylor. Huge win over Ole Miss. Came roaring back in a game that they were down, but they found a way to get it done. But right now, moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell. Online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. Great selection of commercial vehicles with service body trucks, flatbed trucks, and several medium-duty trucks for those heavier jobs. They are locally owned and operated by Aggie alumni. They have the complimentary pickup and delivery for their service customers. Free oil changes for life on the purchase of your vehicle as long as you own that vehicle from Caldwell Country Chevrolet. They are a proud supporter of Aggie athletics. They have a strong and committed sales staff with many years of experience satisfying customer needs. They are the premier dealer for commercial vehicles for all of your small business needs. It's not a far drive. We're talking 15 minutes. The edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell. Online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. We're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. How about that A&M women's basketball victory over Ole Miss, 60-58. Huge comeback win. Let's talk all about it on the Boss Firearms Hotline. We're joined by Joni Taylor. Joni, good morning and Happy New Year. How you doing?
Happy New Year. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm well. Look, that was fun to watch and fun to just to feel the excitement level. Just what does a win like that do for a team that you've been going in the right direction, and now you have tangible proof like, hey, we continue down this path. This is what we can do.
Well, I was so excited for them because they've worked really hard. We've faced challenges this year that we weren't expecting, but that's life. And so while we have continued to come in every single day and work really hard, we also understand like we've got to make some lemonade when we get some lemons. And so to finally see them get a win like that was just really, really incredible. Their resiliency was great. I think the Tennessee game gave us a ton of confidence, although we did not win that game. Being down 22 and chipping away at it and cutting the lead to single digits gave them the confidence that even though we were down 16 at halftime, like this is doable. So to see them kind of bow their back a little bit and get stops. I mean, we held Ole Miss scoreless without a field goal for the fourth quarter. They scored 6 points and they were from the free throw line. So to hold a team without a field goal in the fourth quarter is really impressive.
I want to take that a step further, too. 17 second-half points. So what kind of adjustments or what was kind of the dialogue at halftime to not only put the emphasis on defense, but also the application of it?
Well, we had been changing our defense up on dead balls, and so we came out in the third quarter saying we were going to go zone, and we were going to honestly just do it for a couple of possessions to kind of slow them down and have them think about some other things, and they never really adjusted, so we stayed in it. I think the other thing that we did differently is we rebounded the ball better. We out-rebounded Ole Miss, and they're the number 7 offensive rebounding team in the country, and so that was an area that we wanted to show improvement from the Tennessee game where they just honestly manhandled us on the glass, and so that was the area where we wanted to show improvement. I think the other correction was we were given a lot of and-ones in the first half, and so our motto is always that we can't trade threes for twos, and so at halftime I told them, hey, guys, like they're not making threes, but we're giving up three-point plays because we're fouling them and they're making the basket, and so we were more disciplined as well in terms of defensively not fouling and sending them to the line.
Talking to Joni Taylor on the Boss Firearms Hotline. Joni, this team has been in so many tight games this year, and we talked about the tangible evidence, but like, talk about learning how to win because it's not just turning it on. There's a mindset of knowing how to take advantage of momentum and opportunities.
Listen, our backcourt, our guards, we've got a point guard who's never played the position. Our 2 guard hasn't is a sophomore who played limited minutes at LSU. Aisha Coulibaly is who she is. She's an amazing player. And then our guards off the bench, our backup point guard hadn't played in 3 years. Our backup 2 guard hasn't played in 2 years. And our backup 3 is a freshman. And so we're really inexperienced and as it relates to our guards, and that's who the ball is in their hands most of the time. So for them to be in all these situations where we have had to know time and score and put people in the right spots and know what play to call, we haven't always come out on the right side of that, but we're learning and we're growing in those moments. And I want to give a huge shout out to Sully Williams, who managed that game so well on Sunday. Not only did she score for us, but she was calling the right plays, putting people in the right spots, and she controlled that game, you know, every time she was out there. And that's the kind of growth that we want to see from all of our players. And so we are definitely taking a step in the right direction, and our challenge is to keep them focused and to keep them moving in a positive way.
And Sully also hit that big 3, you know, that gave you the first lead. So like to meet not only the play was elite, but managing that moment and giving the Ags the lead there, just how that kind of changed. I think the momentum was already going one way, but when you hit that and you have the lead and you're playing at that level, it kind of changes the way the last couple minutes go.
I'll tell you what else changed the last couple of minutes. It got real loud in Reed Arena.
Mm-hmm.
The 12th man was amazing. Our fans were great. You know, it was quiet as a mouse when we were at the free throw line and very loud every single time Ole Miss had the basketball. So they helped us secure the win as well.
Your first ranked win since taking over at A&M. Just talk about the significance of that, again, of what you're trying to build here.
You know, Brandon told me that after the game, and I don't even think about things like that. I don't keep up with stuff like that. It was the first time we had a ranked win since 2021 at Texas A&M, our first time since coming. Obviously, we've done it quite a bit at Georgia. I think it just speaks to it's one more notch in moving things in the right direction. We want to be a top 25 program. That's our goal, is to ourselves be in the top 25 one day. We also know that it's not going to happen overnight. When we inherited this program, the tradition and the history of women's basketball is amazing here. What Gary Blair did in the 19 years he was here, including winning a national championship, is something you don't see everywhere. However, when we got here in 2022, we had some work to do. And we understand that whether there's the portal and NIL or not, that's not going to happen overnight, especially when you look at the gauntlet of our conference and how much parity there is and how many great choices there are for great players. So we know it's going to take time, and anytime we have a win like we did on Sunday, it's just another sign that we are doing things the right way. We're building it the right way with the right people, the right staff, and we're moving in the right direction.
Well, no rest, because not only the toughest conference out there, but you get South Carolina next. So a huge win. You got to go right back to work.
Listen, we started the conference with 4 teams in the top 25. Tennessee's 15, Ole Miss is 25, South Carolina's number 2, and then we go to number 10, Oklahoma on Sunday. That's the SEC.
Yeah, it's. Are you paying attention to what the men are doing with Buzz and company?
Oh, of course I am. I'm their biggest fan. I learn so much from watching them every day, being around them. It is incredible what our men are doing, led by Coach Williams.
Yeah, it's a great weekend for both programs. Thank you, Joni, for some time today. We'll catch up soon, all right?
Thank you.
Thank you. Joni Williams there on the Boss Firearms Hotline. Huge win. They'll continue that, hopefully against South Carolina. When we come back, we'll talk. What did I say, Joni? Well, I mixed the two. I mixed Joni and Buzz. That's embarrassing. Billy Texan, 3, 2, 1. Hey, Joni Taylor. Oh, my goodness. I apologize to everybody. Is Joni Williams a person? Yeah.
Probably.
There's a singer, not Joni Williams, though. It's Joni, what's the singer's name? I don't know. But Joni Taylor, our women's basketball coach, with a huge win this past weekend. And now they've got South Carolina ahead. Your car wash tradition with the friendliest staff and personal touch is back. That is Aggieland Express Car Wash. They are Aggieland's first green car wash. They recycle 100% of their water. 2 locations in College Station. You've got the original William D. Fitch behind Shipley's, and you've got the newest location that I went to not too long ago, 2528 Texas Avenue South in College Station across from the Planet Fitness. They both offer all the car wash services you want, but the newest location has the full-service wash. So it's the newest full-service wash in town. They take care of all the cleaning, the drying, the vacuuming. They do it all for you, and they have 3 levels of full-service wash. And if somebody wants to try that basic service, what you need to do is call up 979-693-1150. We're going to give one away to the first caller, a $40 value. 979-693-1150. It's Aggieland Express Car Wash. We're back here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Boss Firearms Hotline, joined by Dane Bradshaw of the SEC Network. Dane, how are you?
Hey, I'm great. Good to talk with you guys again.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the show. So what'd you think of the atmosphere Saturday at Reed and the output?
Oh, it was awesome. Everything I hoped it would be. Didn't know with the students not quite being back in town yet, but showed up, showed out. And, I mean, if anything, there was, we mentioned on the broadcast, because of A&M's ability to get to the free throw line, like there were times where I felt like the crowd was ready to erupt. And as great as it is to get to the free throw line, it's not necessarily a crowd pleaser. Nobody just goes crazy over 2 free throw attempts. But, man, when there were some big plays and steals and dunks, the Zurich Phelps with that steal in the backcourt, you could feel the buzz. It's got no pun intended, but it needs to be that way. I think I don't have the stats to back this up. Vanderbilt was the only team to win on the road in opening day, and I got to think it's been a long time since only one team won a road game on opening day in the SEC, and I just think you must defend home court this year because it's going to be so hard to steal them on the road. Well, and Dane, I think what also makes this such a valuable moment in the season for A&M, and look, I know what's still ahead. There's a long, long road, and going 10-8 might be a good season in the SEC, right? But they did that against Texas with Wade Taylor being limited. Obviously, didn't have the output that we're used to seeing, and dealing with a little bit of a growing issues. And to do that and win so convincingly, I think was the big storyline. I agree, and I think being less reliant on Wade Taylor, number one, and then number two, him being okay with it. That's got to be the key. And we've seen some players across the country. Sure, not many of your listeners follow Marquette basketball, but Cam Jones is up for Player of the Year. He's right there behind the Cooper Flags and Janai Brooms. But what's changed in his game is his ability to facilitate the ball. And I think players see that, they read it. I'm not saying Wade Taylor is just ego-centered by any means, but as a player, when you start to be recognized for better leadership, better distribution, and team is winning, and y'all have had the toughest non-conference you've had in the past, I don't know, probably ever under Buzz, and all those things are you're still getting credit for all those things with point production and your maybe takeover game moments not as plentiful. I think that really helps the player embrace that lead role without necessarily saying I gotta take as many shots as possible. All right. What is something that should concern you if you're an A&M fan? Is it just because you're in the SEC and like you got to do this so many different times with so many 12 teams probably making the tournament? Well, I think probably just the 3-point shooting. They went was it 2 of 19 and still won by 20? That's nuts. So their defense is certainly something they can rely on. Their Coach Rodney Carey said that he felt like they were the best 50-50 ball, in other words, loose ball team in America. You don't really have a stat for that, but when that jumps out on film that way, you've earned that reputation. So I think those are some of those constants. But to me, the concern is, can you shoot the three a little bit more efficiently? And because you might have to on some of those nights where your offensive rebounding just isn't taking over. And we saw it last game. We saw it against Wake Forest, where I'll give A&M credit. Teams have held them in check, offensive rebounding in first halves of game. But then it's like a great running back. You just kind of keep feeding them carries, and all of a sudden you've got them for 20 carries and 65 yards, but then that 21st carry busted for 70. It just, over time, they just wear you down and beat you up on the glass so much. Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And my question to you, Dane, is good threes versus bad threes, right? There's sometimes they'll shoot a three. I'm like, oh, why are they shooting that one? And their ability to get offensive rebounds is part of the reason, right? They know they can get to the ball. But I like to see more threes in movement, and that sometimes it's hard. Like Wade Taylor has a green light. I get that, but I don't know if everybody else gets a green light. Right, and I think Wade Taylor keeps the defense on their heels. Now, he does. He takes some bad shots, and I think he's taking less of them this year than in the past. You know, he made one of them before he got that tech. So, but look, most every player out there, their percentages go up when, number one, it's when you get a 3-point opportunity off the catch rather than off the bounce. And number two, if it goes in the paint first for a kick out. There's just something about getting it kicked out where the defense is sucked in. You get more open, more quality looks, better rhythm. And so I do think there's times where A&M, specifically Wade Taylor, they're taking a lot of threes sort of off the bounce, contested, as opposed to more inside out. But I think they do a really pretty unique job of getting their 5-man the ball. Sometimes they'll post them up, down low, but a lot of times it's just that middle ball screen and hitting guys like Henry Coleman and Solo Washington right there at the free throw line, which is usually for a 5-man, that's a place where they're going to turn it over too far away from the basket. But those guys do a really nice job of ripping it through and either getting to the basket or trying to kick it out.
Talking to Dane Bradshaw here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. So the stretch for A&M coming up, and all of these teams are going to have similar stretches. This is part of life in the SEC. You got Oklahoma, you've got Alabama, you've got Kentucky. This next stretch right here won't define the season, but obviously this is going to be a hard. I mean, I'm looking at the rest of the schedule. There's other pockets, but this is probably the hardest pocket as of right now.
Yeah, it's just mayhem right now in the league, and you got to play them. You know, for the most part, all of them at some point anyway. I know everybody's got different rivalries, but I think the good news for A&M is they're just so much more battle tested. Again, we all know they're older, the continuity of their roster. But when you look at, we didn't have a chance to put up the graphic the other night, but we had built one where the non-conference strength of schedule under Buzz Williams, and over the past, 4 years, it went from 300th to 200th. Last year, I think, was kind of in the right around the high 60s, and then this year was right around the 50s. So each year he's scheduled tougher as the team has gotten older, and now they're going to get rewarded as long as they take care of business, which is in the SEC going 500. They'll get a good seed in the NCAA tournament. But not only that, but prior to the last game, they're on that 7-game win streak, and I think 4 of those games were decided by 5 points or less. So when you're learning how to win those close games, that really becomes contagious in a huddle, as opposed to if you've lost your past 3 points or less type games, several of them, then all of a sudden you start playing not to lose. You don't have the confidence. And again, this is a team that was a head scratcher when they lost to Central Florida in the opening game. That was what everybody was talking about. Oh man, did you see A&M? And boy, if they got that far in the rearview mirror now.
What can you tell us about Oklahoma? Obviously, they're coming off a tough loss to Alabama where they were humbled, but most teams going to Alabama are going to struggle, maybe not to that extent, but they're obviously a top 25 team, a team that had played really good basketball up until that game. Yeah, and they've got an exciting guard, Jeremiah Fears. If you hadn't heard of him, he's one of the more dynamic point guards in the country, just a freshman, 6'4", 180 pounds, originally committed to Illinois, reclassified, so he's young, and Porter Mosier was able to get him late. If I'm not mistaken, I'm not even sure he arrived there in time for summer conditioning. I think he came start of the semester or late in the summer, and he's got a little bit of Rob Dillingham for Kentucky last year, just really shifty, kind of looks like a human joystick out there. A lot of bounce to him. I'm not saying he's indefensible by any means, as if you're A&M, but just from an entertainment standpoint, watching him with the ball in the hands is going to be fun against Wade Taylor and the rest of that A&M defense. And they've got some other guys, Jalen Moore, who's playing really well for him. He's a senior, but this is a chance for Oklahoma to try to right the ship and say, all right, we got punched in the mouth against Alabama. Can we prove to the rest of the world that, hey, that undefeated start in non-conference wasn't just a fluke? We're for real. So I think if they can come out this 1-1 with those first 2 games against Alabama, A&M, that would be huge for Oklahoma. How about Kentucky this year? And, changing of philosophy, coaches, new players come in. and they are typical. They play like a Kentucky team we expect, hitting the 3-point shot. Kobe Brea has been fantastic. What have you seen from them?
Honestly, I'm just pleasantly surprised. And they'll tell you themselves, I don't know if they're the most talented team, but boy, the connectivity they have, they spread you out with 5 guys. And a lot of teams will say, yeah, we want to spread you out, but can you really do it with quality and constant movement and just the actions that Mark Pope is running? It's a joy to watch. And they share the ball extremely well. They know their roles. And the other thing, too, is when they've been down in games or things have happened throughout the course of the year in the middle of the game, they've proven to make some pretty significant adjustments. It's not like they've just been playing lights-out basketball for 40 minutes. I'm not sure we've really seen them against marquee competition play 40 good, solid minutes, but they've found ways to adjust to the competition and come out ahead. And this is another team that I think has the confidence now to win close games. And I don't necessarily love the phrase overachieving, but I think they're doing it right now. And I also don't think the worst is yet to come to Kentucky, and I don't mean that as a condescending thing, but there's going to be a stretch where they might lose 3 games in a row, which is not unheard of in this competitive of a league. But you lose, all of a sudden you don't win for 10 straight days. These players that hadn't been at Kentucky before and were Fairleigh Dickinson and other places where you could lose a game and kind of get away with it, you're under a microscope. And so having to deal with some of that, the social media and the criticism that they hadn't really experienced yet, I think is something they're just going to have to show their maturity on.
Dane, how about the job Rick Barnes continues to do? That defense might be one of the best he's had there. Just your thoughts on the way defensively they are dismantling teams.
Yeah, there's just no weakness. A lot of times you'll see a team say, all right, we're going to attack this guy, or we're going to try to get this guy in pick and roll coverage, or put him or post him up on the block. Or when this player subs in, let's press because he can't, But there's just, when you have Tennessee, there's no guy that you say we're gonna attack him, and they help, they recover, extremely physical. And here's the thing: I was just talking with some of my friends down in Fayetteville on a podcast. Arkansas missed a lot of good open looks in the second half against Tennessee, but what happens against really good defensive teams, that even when you get open, you're so surprised you're open that it's like, oh, I got to make this one. I don't know if I'll be this open again all game. And then you get tight and you miss it. And I think that's some of that compounding effect of these really tough physical defenses. But the key has been the past 2 years. Dalton Connect last year, this year Chats Lanier. In the past, prior to that, Tennessee could hold you to maybe 61 points, but you might beat them 61-60 or 61-59 because their offense inability and consistencies put so much pressure on their defense to win games. Now they've got much more of that complementary style that every coach wants.
Let's close out with this. What about the job Chris Beard's doing with Ole Miss? I mean, I'm looking at some of the numbers here. Their defense went from 141st to 26th in efficiency. Really solid defense there as well.
Yeah, they turn you over a bunch, and a lot of them with the live ball variety. So they get several steals, which is a big part of their offense, so they can get some of those fast break points. They're good, not great in the half-court offense. Very balanced. I think they got maybe 5 guys averaging double figures. But Chris Beard, they seem a lot tougher than they were a year ago. I was surprised just how little resistance defensively as a group they had. But I think with some of the transfers and just the improvements of the returners, he's got them playing a little bit more of Chris Beard's style. Still not maybe the old school, the Texas Tech type ruggedness that was such a brand for him and his defense. But they're getting closer there, and they've got some good quality guards. They got this. I believe it's his 5th year, Matthew Morrell, who's always kind of been on that cusp of being a star in this league. He's been solid, but I think he's going to have some big-time games for them and show that he's the best player on the court if they're going to steal some of these road games, because he's got the potential. He's been really good, but he's just going to have to be special and great some nights if they want to me, if they want to stay in the top 25 and make the first NCAA tournament since Morrell's been there.
Dane, great stuff, buddy. Thanks so much for your time. We'll talk soon.
All good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Soon. Dane Bradshaw on the Boss Farms Hotline. Appreciate his time here on the program. We'll come back with the final segment of the 9 o'clock hour, start the 10 o'clock hour with some more basketball talk. Right now, Fratello Italian Cafe, they have awesome food. If you haven't been to Fratello recently, you're missing out. Homemade Italian dishes made with love, fresh pasta, golden fried breadsticks, and the lasagna and the famous cheesecake that they have. And not only do they provide amazing food, they're proud partners of A&M Athletics, sharing their passion with Aggie fans everywhere. And if you can't come to them, no problem. They ship their products nationwide so you can enjoy Fratello from the comfort of your home. Plus, you can find them every Saturday at Memorial Village's Farmers Market in Houston. They are owned by the same family that opened Pino's in Houston, and they're proud to carry on that great tradition, serving up the best Italian food in town. Come hungry, leave happy. It's Fratello. It's all about good food and great company. And we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Callie Gardner's there. Callie, what do you have for us?
My microphone is way over here. We have a text from a 281 number, and he says, I'm still concerned about Marcel's ability to see and throw down the field.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that. I mean, look, he's got to evolve as a passer. I think he knows that. The coaching staff knows that. But his highs this year were so high, right? And look, he had some unfortunate turnovers towards the end of the season. There's no doubt about that. But I think he gives you something to build on for next year. And think about this. There was a lot of concern all season long about wide receivers not getting separation. What do you think that does for a quarterback? Like, You've got to throw it in this tight spot that your guys aren't going to necessarily be. If you get separation, it opens up so many other things. So I'd be curious, as the game slows down, his ability to survey the field.
Mm-hmm.
That comes with time. That comes with reps. And he's getting those reps as the guy right now. So I understand I think he can throw the ball down the field. It's seeing the other options, going from the first option to the second option to the third read, right? Like, can he do that? And when he does that, look, the offense was not the problem this year. It was a problem at times, especially when Le'Veon got hurt. But they scored enough. They didn't score enough in Texas. There's no doubt about that. But they did score plenty against USC and plenty against Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
They did have some droughts, and that has to be fixed up. But, I understand your concerns. I don't disagree per se, but I also think let's see what he does with a full offseason and some weapons, some bigger weapons, and guys that can get open. When we come back here on TexAgs Live, we'll talk a little Oklahoma basketball, trying to learn the opponent next on TexAgs. We're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, A&M with a big road game tomorrow. Basketball in Norman. Let's talk to an insider about it. Eddie Radosevich is joining us here from Soonerscoop.com. Eddie, thanks for coming on TexAgs. How you doing, man?
David, how's it going? I appreciate you guys having me on. And I come in peace. I know it's a big week in the college football ranks, but always been a big Ohio State fan. So trying to pull to your listenership.
Huge Ohio State fan this week. Huge. Hey, so I don't remember, but I know you're coming in peace, but I feel like you've taken some strays at A&M in the past. Am I right? Or am I making this up?
No, I think me and Billy Lucci have a great relationship, and it's always in love when we do. But sometimes you got to get back in those Big 12 spirit days, and I think Oklahoma fans are certainly starting to feel like they're, getting closer to being a member of the SEC conference, despite a terrible football season in Norman.
So interestingly, I'll actually start with football there. I was surprised by how bad Oklahoma was this year, but not super surprised, right? Like I thought they were going to be bad. Obviously, the win at the end of the season was fantastic, but I was somewhat surprised. What did you think about Oklahoma, where they were in football, heading into the SEC, considering the struggles the last little bit?
Yeah, it's a really kind of an unexplained, I guess it can be explained, but in a sense it is unexplainable with some of the things that happened throughout the year. The injuries at the wide receiver position obviously were catastrophic for Oklahoma offensively. It was one of the worst, offenses that Oklahoma's put on the field in the modern history of Oklahoma football. So it was trying times. I don't think anybody could have expected Jackson Arnold to take the steps back that he did. But overall, it felt like the program was in really good shape coming off of a 10-win season. Going into the SEC, everybody knew the conference was going to be extremely difficult, and particularly Oklahoma's schedule was going to be extremely difficult. But, I think that they learned kind of the hard way. Offensive line wasn't nearly where it needed to be. I think that's starting to make a turn, having to play a bunch of younger guys at the end of the year. And they feel like things are progressing. Obviously, getting John Mateer and Ben Arbuckle has been a big win in Norman. And it's going to be kind of up to them, because I think when you look at the flip side of the ball on the defensive side going into 2025 with the news of Mason Thomas and the host of guys that are coming back with experience, it feels like that could be a really, really good group, maybe an elite group. They've taken steps in each year under Brent. So it's kind of hard to explain, because everything was so good, and the trajectory of the program has been good on everything but on the field. And obviously that's where Brent Venables is going to be judged. And that's why he's going into 2025, certainly on a hot seat in Norman. And, there's a lot of people that are relatively unhappy with a lot of things that are happening right now on the field for Oklahoma.
Eddie, one other thing football-wise, I'm sure unless you live in Austin, you look at Texas's first year in the SEC, not only the success that they've had, but how it's set up for them to have that level of success. And interestingly, I think they are as good as being a top 4 team in college football. I also think they've got the benefits of an easier schedule, and they beat A&M's butt. They beat Oklahoma's butt. So, and I think it's a down year for the SEC. That's obvious by what we've seen this year. What was the takeaway from Norman about the schedule, the season that's played out, some of the favors they've gotten during the season when it comes to Texas?
Yeah, certainly it's something that I think a lot of people around here like to talk about and say, it's always been set up for Texas to have success in the Big 12. Certainly they didn't take advantage of it, but at the same time, yeah, they got the benefit of an easier schedule in the SEC in the first year. But at the same time, I do think that, in all heart of hearts, you do have to kind of credit Sark for what he's been able to build in Austin, finally find success, get over that big road block that's always kind of been in the way for everybody down there with the Texas football program. And, they've recruited well. So they have a great quarterback, maybe 2 great quarterbacks, obviously. With Arch, I know walking out of the Cotton Bowl, it didn't make anybody feel better knowing that he's on the sidelines and probably going to be around for the next 2 to 3 years. So, Oklahoma, they have work to do, obviously, to catch up with Texas, but not too far away in the distant memory is, really a truly 20-year run where Oklahoma had the better part of that, kind of the end of the scoreboard in the Cotton Bowl. So it's always kind of fun. I think when Texas is good, it makes Oklahoma better. It keeps everybody kind of on their toes, and certainly, keeps the money flowing in for the NIL purposes. But it's going to be an interesting 2025 on the football field for Brent Venables and company.
Eddie, let's take a look at this basketball team. I was shocked to see the score against Alabama, because not that I'm shocked to see OU lose on the road to Bama, but I didn't watch the game. I just saw the score and some box scores about it. So what happened? Like, is Alabama that good? Was Oklahoma that bad on that day? What kind of give me the sum up?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, I think that Oklahoma, certainly in their 13-0 start, really haven't generally been tested as much as some other teams across the country, certainly in the top 15. I think that they're more of like a top 30 to top 40 type team, need to make the NCAA tournament, obviously. In Porter Moser's fourth season, they haven't been able to get over that hump here and kind of waiting to hear their name called in the last couple of selection Sundays over the last couple of years. So, a lot of things went really wrong for Oklahoma. They shot the ball extremely poorly, dug a big hole. And when you do that against an Alabama team that's probably being slept on a little bit just in terms of a national perspective, I know that they were picked highly in the SEC pre-season. And even with the injury to Whitaker, Whitekiller, the guard, they're going to be okay. They got a damn good point guard in Sears, one of the most veteran players in the country. And then the size in the front court is tremendous with Grant Nelson and that host of guys. So a lot of things went poorly. They got their butts kicked on the boards, got out-rebounded by 25, 22 offensive rebounds, which when you look into Wednesday night and A&M come to town, we're talking to Porter Moser here in a couple hours. I imagine that defensive intensity and just what they didn't do in the SEC opener is going to be much talked about, as well as hitting the boards. They got to get more from the backcourt if they're going to have any chance of being a team that I think a lot of people around here think is Porter Moser's best team since arriving in Norman here now going into his fourth year.
Well, I'm looking at these numbers. Offensively gifted, 82.5 points a game. Defensively keeping teams to 70 points a game. So where do they hang their hat? Is it with that guard play?
Yeah, absolutely. And they played Georgia Tech a couple weeks ago in the SEC ACC Challenge, and Damon Stoudemire came in and he point blank said it after the game. Oklahoma will go as far in the NCAA tournament or wherever they're to go into the regular season as far as their backcourt takes them. And it starts with Jeremiah Fierce. He's been a phenomenal freshman that kind of fell into Oklahoma's lap after he reclassified. He's been a nice pairing with two veteran guards in Duke Miles and Kobe Elvis that have been relatively very big surprises just in what they've been able to bring. Oklahoma not able to really go out and get that key point guard from the transfer portal, but they did it analytically, and they're kind of trusting the numbers here. And what Kobe Elvis and Duke Miles did at their earlier stops last season at High Point and Dayton, they've been phenomenal, and they've shared the rock. They've been able to stay away from turnovers, which is obviously a positive, and then they've shot the ball really well. And you kind of work your way down. They're just getting a little bit of something from everybody each game, and that's been a kind of a good recipe for Porter Moser this season. And you just hope that Jeremiah Fierce, he struggled a lot in the first half, and you have to wonder, he's a 17-year-old kid. I know he's rising up the draft boards here, but it's going to be kind of fun to have one of those premier superstar type point guards kind of lead the way, but they're going to have to go with as he goes through his freshman season, kind of the highs and lows.
Am I reading this correctly? Moore and Fierce combined are averaging 35 points a game. Is that correct?
Yeah, 17.9 coming out of that Alabama game together, and they've been really good. I mean, Fierce, he struggled mightily on Saturday in Tuscaloosa, and he still ended up with 16, had 15 really in the late second half. I don't know if you want to call it like scrub time or anything like that, but certainly kind of found his way a little bit more. He's a terrific shooter. Bryson Goodine, somebody also that is kind of coming off the bench and really shoots at a really high clip coming out of Davidson. So it's been kind of a joy to watch because Oklahoma basketball, Oklahoma fans, they needed something to cheer for after the dreadful football season.
Well, and tell me a little bit about the non-conference. I saw the record, but how many Power One, Quad One, like how many, like how well did they look beyond the record?
Quad one, two Quad One wins, two Quad Two wins. So they haven't really necessarily been tested. I think that Oklahoma fans are going to be keeping an eye on a team like an Arizona if they can kind of pull themselves out of the little bit of a slow start that they had to start the season. Obviously, took the step in the right direction, beating Cincinnati. They have West Virginia tonight, which would be a quality, Quad One win on the road in Morgantown. So Michigan, I think, is going to probably be a player when it's all said and done. But they really haven't been just truly tested. Played Louisville down in the Bahamas in the battle for Atlantis that they ended up winning. Got a win over Providence, who kind of tested or pushed UConn a little bit on Sunday afternoon. So I think it's kind of a wait and see right now. But I do think that they have the makings of a team that can protect home court, maybe steal a couple games on the road, and all of a sudden, if you can get to 8 and 10, I think people feel like around here they'll be in good position to make the NCAA tournament for the first time under Porter.
You mentioned the rebounding disparity against Alabama. I think it was 51-26. But overall in the season, what kind of rebounding team has Oklahoma been?
They haven't been a bad rebounding team, and I think that's why it was a little bit so surprising. I think there was a certain level of physicality that Oklahoma just wasn't ready for when they went down to Tuscaloosa on Saturday, and they're going to have to get more from the guards, and you're going to have to ask somebody like a Jalen Moore, as much as he does on the offensive end. When he hits the floor, most nights he's going to be one of the more athletic guys on the floor. You need to go get a couple rebounds, and especially on the defensive end, and really try to push things out. And I think that's kind of where their offense starts, is getting rebounds on the defensive end, causing turnovers on the defensive end, and getting out and running a little bit. And that's what's been successful for them so far this season. But yeah, I mean, they got to get a little bit from everybody. Sam Godwin's a great story. Earned a scholarship after walking on from Wofford, a local product out of Moore. But they need more from the inside, and particularly the front court, if they really, truly want to kind of be in that middle of the pack in the SEC and feel good about themselves.
Talk to me about Porter Moser. Obviously, you mentioned earlier, the most talented team he's had. Just what do you like about him? Where does the program have some challenges?
Yeah, it's been a really interesting first 3 seasons, because I think that, in all heart of hearts, I don't think anybody could have thought that they were going to land Porter Moser. And then when he did, everybody thought it was going to be a home run, and they haven't been able to make the NCAA tournament. A lot of that has been troubles having to rebuild rosters every year. And he's kind of in that, a little bit of the muck that every college coach right now that doesn't have millions of dollars to go out and spend in the NIL department, he's had to really try to build through the portal. And that's been tough. And I think that something that Porter wanted to do from day one was build from the ground up, get guys to stay around for 2-3 years, like he did at Loyola in Chicago. And you just can't do that, and especially at the Big 12 level, and certainly not at the SEC level. So they've kind of found a nice little niche this year with this roster and with this group. They're starting to make a couple inroads in recruiting, but at the end of the day, it's wins and losses. Kind of the same thing as Brent Venables. You got to be able to make the NCAA tournament, especially at a school like Oklahoma. So I wouldn't say he's on like a hot seat necessarily, because I do think that they feel like they're in pretty good position, and especially with some of the guys that are coming in the recruiting classes in 24 and 25. But at the same time, you got to be able to make the NCAA tournament. And I think that's why this year is so important. And really the next couple weeks are really important to not dig yourself a hole in the SEC here moving forward.
I'm looking at this note that our staff put together, that in the Michigan game, OU put up 38 in the first half, 49 in the second half to win the game by 1 point. But is it outscoring, basically running them down? Is that kind of been the philosophy?
Yeah, a little bit. The Michigan game was a little bit different, and just in that, like, they've been very resilient. They've gotten down, and they did this in the Bahamas as well with the Providence and Louisville games, that all of a sudden you looked up, they were down by 10 and maybe 10, double digits, low double digits. And, for the most part here over the last couple of years, they've been in games at that 8-minute, 4-minute mark of the second half, and they just haven't had enough to be able to finish. This year, it feels like they have guys that you can give the ball to, whether it be a Jeremiah Fears or you feel comfortable with the ball in Duke Myler or Kobe Elvis's hands, and they're making the right plays, and it's been benefiting Oklahoma here late. So resilient, probably the number one word for this team. They've been probably producing a little bit over of what a lot of people expected, but at the same time, they're probably about where they should be with the soft non-conference schedule. And that's why I think Saturday, maybe a little bit of a rude awakening, and hopefully it kind of wakes some people up in Norman, and you see what you have to really do, especially when you go on the road in this conference.
When do kids get back to school there at Oklahoma, and what kind of crowd do you think we can expect for this game on Wednesday?
Yeah, the school doesn't start until next Monday, so I think kids will probably be funneling back in. I'll be honest, this is Lloyd Noble Center. It's never been the most intimidating place, but it does get loud when people are there, and Oklahoma's playing well. So I would expect it to be a good crowd, probably not a quote-unquote great crowd, but it should be fun. It's an important game for Oklahoma if they want to kind of get back to it and really kind of prove that Saturday was Alabama's really, really stinking good, and Oklahoma played a really bad game.
Eddie, what does Oklahoma have to do against A&M to be successful, and what can they not do for A&M to take this game on the road?
Yeah, I think it might be kind of obvious, but shoot the ball well. They've done that at home here, through the first part of the non-conference or through the non-conference schedule, but they've been able to score when they needed to. And, I think the thing, if you look up on Wednesday night and A&M's walking out with a win, they're going to probably kick Oklahoma's ass on the boards. And I think that, you just got to be able to limit that. You're probably going to get beat on the boards, but you got to be able to limit that and limit chances for Texas A&M, because Alabama took plenty of opportunities with second chance points. I think they had 52 in the paint. So it's going to be very important that Oklahoma finds a way to get some of those guys to come down from the backcourt and grab some rebounds.
You know, being in the Big 12 for so long, have you been able to pay attention at all to what Buzz and A&M has been able to do the last couple of years?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm kind of a college basketball junkie, watching a lot of West Coast basketball late at night, living and dying on a couple parlay cards. So I love Buzz Peterson. There was a couple people around Norman, even when Lon Kruger left, that he has some connections back to Oklahoma, especially up in the Tulsa area. That was definitely a name that was on our hot board when that job opening came out, and I love him. I love the sweatiness that comes with the Buzz Peterson experience.
Yeah. Buzz Peterson might be really good. Buzz Williams is who I love. I love Buzz Williams.
Yeah, Buzz Williams. I'm an idiot.
Just giving you a hard time.
First off, you got to understand, I'm an idiot.
Hey, you and I both, brother. So last thing for you. You feel good about the direction of Oklahoma. Obviously, top 25 ranking, 13-1 start. They've got the coach that they feel. They feel like they're building the right players. They've got an incredible freshman guard, who's putting up big numbers. You feel good about the trajectory of the program.
Yeah, I think so. The tough thing with somebody like a Jeremiah Fears is I think the reality that he probably goes to the NBA after this year. That's unfortunate, but you do like what they have coming in. And I think that, there is a good foundation that Porter can build around. They're probably going to have to go back to the portal after this next season. But if you can find some success, if you can find some wins, some trajectory into the NCAA tournament, I think it's a little bit of a better product that you can sell. So, pleasantly surprised through the first 14 games, I guess, of this season, and it's going to be kind of fun to see how they kind of navigate this schedule. They've been in the Big 12 the last couple of years, and it felt like that was the best conference in the country. And right now, I think you look at the SEC from top to bottom, it's once again the best conference in the country. So it's tough, but it's kind of fun at the same time. You never know what you're going to get.
Eddie, I appreciate your time, man. Let's do it again, all right?
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. Sounds good. Appreciate it.
Take care, bud. Eddie Radosevich there on the Boss Firearms Hotline. We'll hit a break, open segment, then we'll talk to Chad Withrow from Outkick, and we'll just do a little football, a little basketball to end the program. Right now, if you're looking for a great spot to get your grub on, get your cravings taken care of, you need to go to the Varsity Grill House. Great place to go hang out with your friends, your wife, your kiddos. Kind of got an environment for everybody. They are so nice, and just the food is delicious. They're conveniently located in front of the Academy on Highway 6. They have a vibrant atmosphere and mouth-watering dishes. I love the food there. It's just so good. The rib tip tacos are fantastic. The ribeye tacos, are fantastic, delicious. Whatever you want to get there, you're going to get it. You're going to have sports on the TV. You're going to have kind of like a fine dining experience at the same time. You decide where you want to be, in what area, but you're going to love everything about it. They can cater your top, your big-time events. They also want to be your go-to destination for hosting unforgettable gatherings. Swing by the Varsity Grill House today where you can taste the difference. It is the Varsity Grill House, your home for good times and great food. We hope to see you there. TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Final hour of the program. In a few minutes, we'll talk to Chad Withrow from Outkick. Always love catching up with Chad. Let's check in quickly with Callie Gardner at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. I also want to chit-chat with Nick for a moment. You were telling me that there's, obviously we know about the bad weather hitting the Metroplex and all around the country. Mm-hmm. And there's some reports out potentially of moving the game. Is that right?
Yeah, I haven't checked into it that much, but I have heard that their higher ups have made
discussed it.
Yeah, some comments publicly about monitoring it and seeing what's going to happen.
Here's the thing: you've got to plan ahead, because if it were to happen and you don't have a plan in place,
right,
then you're putting your fans in a vulnerable spot, and also the teams that are playing. But typically, this early into something is a lot of talk about nothing, right? Mm-hmm. But when is that game? Is that a Thursday or a Friday? This is a Friday game, right?
Yeah.
So there is still time, and I know that somebody on the YouTube chat was saying, "What are you talking about? It's being played indoors." It's about
the travel,
and getting fans successfully. If it's, what is the reports? Like it could get 10 inches of snow or something like that?
And just lots of ice, a lot of ice, which is dangerous, obviously.
I checked the College Station, Bryan weather, and I didn't see us getting any winter weather like that. I mean, I know it's going to be in the 30s for most of the week, but I didn't see anything about snow. I don't know if you saw anything about that, Callie.
Not here, at least.
Yeah.
I haven't seen. I would love for that.
Like I told Kay, cold's cool, but if I'm going to get cold, I want ice. I want water. No, not ice. I want snow. I want to have
the
fun.
Great ice storm of 2021. Or when was
I wasn't
that?
here, or was that? Yeah, it was 21. I wasn't here for that one. I was still in Houston. We got a little bit of snow, not like College Station got.
Brutal.
But it's cool to see for a day, and then I'm ready to move on. Then I want my 85
I heard
degree
Thursday
weather
might
back.
get bad.
Really?
Yeah. I'll only know because my little dance kids are talking about their school getting canceled potentially, which is they're excited about. Coming off of 2 weeks of no school, they're excited about school getting canceled.
Off air, I'm going to ask you about Dance Moms, the TV show.
Oh, I've got stories.
Yeah, my daughters like to watch it. I'm like, turn that off.
Mm-hmm.
That is disgusting television. Anyway, Nick Savage loves watching Dance Moms.
I have watched a little bit of it.
Have you really?
Yeah. Well, my wife she was a dancer when she was in high school and, a little bit in college as well. So she's got some stories. She likes that show as well.
The main lady on that show can't be a nice person.
There's no way. Well, I think she is now. She was arrested.
What?
She committed tax fraud or something.
I was thinking she did something sinister.
She fought a mom or something, or beat a kid.
No,
something.
probably.
I watched the show.
She probably could get arrested for that.
Was there
too.
ever a fist fight on that show?
Oh my gosh, 1,000.
Our audience. I know most of. I know nobody watches Dance Moms from our audience, so we're going to move on. Nick, sorry, I was going to check in with you, buddy.
Yeah. So me and Cade were actually talking about this the other day. I'm stealing his thought, experiment. But he asked me the other day, who do I think is the most important player to this Aggie basketball team? And the obvious answer, everyone's mind is Wade Taylor. That pops into everyone's mind. But then he kind of went into detail on his answer, and he said Solomon Washington. Because of the energy that he brings to the team with, his on the court presence, his play, his celebrating, everything in between. So I can see where he's coming from there. I would almost want to say Pharrell Payne.
I was going to say
he's
Pharrell
been
Payne.
playing, especially the past few games, has been really, really welcome addition, and maybe even Zurich Phelps. So I like your take on that.
So a couple things. By me taking this path is not a shot at any player. I love Solo, and there are games that he's going to win for you. I look at Solo and Andy as needed pieces to win, but are kind of not the same player, but they bring a very similar value to the team in different ways, right? I feel that Pharrell is a difference maker or what he can do two ends. Offensively, he can score for you, and you need a back to the basket, above the rim kind of guy, and a guy who can alter defenses going into the paint. I think Pharrell Payne, outside of Wade, to me would be the most important piece of this year's team. And the beauty is you don't have to win with him because you already know how to win without him, right? This is a team over the last few years that, look, And when I say this is not a shot at Henry or anybody else we've had in the front. I love our front court, what they've been able to do, what they can do. But they bring something different than Pharrell Payne does. Henry is going to beat you a little bit more finesse. He's also stronger than a lot of the guys that cover him, and he can face you and attack the rim. Pharrell's just a different offensive piece to this team that I don't think that they've had. They haven't had it with Buzz Williams. So to me, he would be, and I don't know if I would have said that 3 weeks ago. I don't know. I like the potential. I would have probably said 3 weeks ago Zurich Phelps. And by the way, Zurich Phelps is a huge part of this too. And I guess that's my compliment to what Buzz has been able to put together, because you can take any one of those guys out and it hurts. But I feel like people kind of just shuffle into their role and they win as a team, right? So, for instance, in this past game against Texas, Wade had his moments where he was a little banged up, that he was out, and this team didn't miss a beat. Obviously, you're better with Wade Taylor on the floor, the best guard, right? Like, you're better with him. But this team is built in a way like they can weather that because they have guys that not only know their role, they know everybody else's role. And they can kind of just, all right, I'm going to step into this part, I'm going to step into this role, and we're going to just take care of each other. So to me, it is they're all integral pieces, right? And I know you can say that about basketball teams because there's 5 guys on the floor. But if I were like to rate, obviously Wade's the captain of the ship, but Pharrell gives you that different element, that different look to the offense that you haven't had before. If you're hitting your free throws, you're destroying teams, right? This Texas game, they missed some free throws in that game that, look, that's going to happen. But as many times that they got an opportunity, like if you just hit half more, Pharrell would have hit a couple more, the game looks completely different. And by the way, it was already a blowout. And you look at the way they started to close out the first half of that game, not how they ended up closing it up, but how it looked. Like there was a stretch where like, oh, they're up 7, they're up 8. Like, unfortunately, it was a tie at the half. But that just shows this, and that was with Wade on the bench. This team can beat you in so many different ways. So, Nick, my final answer is Pharrell Payne. Agree, disagree?
We're in complete agreement.
All right. We'll hit a break. We'll come back. We'll talk to Chad Withrow here on TexAgs. Right now, the difference is real with Rollo Insurance. They're an independent insurance company built around educating you on exactly what you're paying for, doing the shopping for you so that you can accomplish all of your insurance goals. They've got over 60 offices in the great state of Texas, but their headquarters is right here in College Station. And they are the ones that take care of all of your insurance needs. So if you have insurance goals, or maybe you don't even think about them, let them be the one who takes care of you. And if you've got a family-owned business with brand new employees and somebody gets hurt accidentally, what's exactly going to happen next? Don't gamble with your future or your estate or your business. Details matter. Preparation matters. Consultation matters. And education matters. Go to rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs to start a conversation with your personal agent today. If you've got questions, they've got answers for you. It's Rollo Insurance. rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. As a reminder, the final segment of the show is brought to you by Double Dave's. That's at 10:50. But right now, caller number 12, 979-693-1150 will hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been serving Aggieland since 1984 with your favorite pizza and, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com and your favorites are on their way. Let's go to the Boss Firearms hotline. Let's talk to Chad Withrow from Outkick. Chad, what's up, buddy?
Man, you got me excited and hungry for some pepperoni rolls.
Dude, they're good.
About that, Dave. That sounds delicious right about now. I'm going to have to hit me up some Double Daves next time I'm in College Station.
Well, you need to come hang out with us, man. So how have you been? I know that you've been covering the Titans along with college football. I guess we'll start off with the NFL for a moment. Just what a terrible AFC South. Even the Texans, who I root for, they're good, but they kind of backed their way into the playoffs. They were better than that, but certainly the end of the season for them was pretty bad.
Well, let's call a spade first off. It's a terrible division, the AFC South. No one can seemingly get their act together other than the Texans, who were disappointing this year and still were able to win the division. So the Colts are a mess. Jacksonville has always been a mess. The Titans right now are arguably, I think, the worst franchise in the NFL. It's terribly mismanaged. Once again, the news today that GM Rand Carthon has been fired. It's owner Amy Adams Strunk cutting the baby in half yet again. She tried this move before, firing John Robinson midseason, keeping Mike Vrabel around, then bringing in a new GM that didn't get along with Mike Vrabel. So she fires Mike Vrabel and leaves Rand Carthon. Well, now Rand Carthon and the new coach, Brian Callahan, they're not having success. So let's get rid of the GM and keep the head coach there. At some point, you got to blow things up and start from scratch. And, organizational charts exist for a reason. The Titans continue, even with their statement today, to float out this sort of hocus pocus. We're going to be a collaboration. We want the coach and the GM and the president of football operations to work together and have everybody be better than the sum of the parts be better than the one person. I get all that. Everything is a collaboration, but someone's got to be the boss. Someone's got to be the adult in the room, right? Job titles and org charts exist for a reason. You need a president or a GM, or you need the president clearly over the GM or the GM over the coach. These things need to exist if you're going to have any type of forward momentum. And the Titans are seemingly just doubling down on a dumb move from before. And now they're going to go have the guy who was brought in to work in collaboration with the former GM to hire the new GM to then work with the coach who just had the second worst season in franchise history after 1 year. It's a mess, David. If you can make sense of it, please do, because I certainly can't.
Hey, one other NFL note. I wanted to ask you, because I know you tweeted about the Will Levis to Calvin Ridley play, and you didn't like the celebration. And you actually said in one of the replies that it was different than what Mike Evans did. Kind of take me through that train of thought, because you were more, I guess, disappointed with you're getting your butts kicked and you're celebrating.
Yeah, look, Mike Evans was competing in a win and end game. It's so different, right? I know it's late in the game to get that, but they're competing for a playoff spot. Will Levis had a terrible season. He was benched. He was put back in. He started the game that he was put back in as a starter against the Texans, going 3 and out, and then throwing an interception on the second series. They're down multiple scores to the Texans' backups, and they're finishing out a 3-14 season where they're going to have the number 1 draft pick. You combine all those factors, and then he completes one pass to Calvin Ridley to get over 1,000 yards, and he's doing a stupid money dance at the end of it, right? I don't care about a guy getting excited for his teammate to get a bonus or reach a milestone or any of that. I think people misconstrued what I'm angry about. It's the optics of this disastrous season for the Titans, mixed with a quarterback who's been a big disappointment, doing a stupid money dance. And, oh, by the way, David, the very next play, he fumbles the handoff on an end around, and the Texans scoop and score it for a touchdown. So perfectly summed up the Titans season. CBS was showing the dance in slow-mo, and they cut back late as Levis is handing the ball off to the hip of a receiver that's going in motion, and Derek Barnett of the Texans returns it for a touchdown. Perfectly summed up the Titans season. That's what I'm upset about. I know how the league works, and I have no problem with players and teammates getting excited and trying to get guys a bonus or get them to some sort of milestone. I got no issue with that. It's everything that combined with that for the Titans and their season.
Chad, some chatter about maybe Sark to the NFL, other college football coaches to the NFL. And, I was reminded earlier in the show, like, this college football coach, you're dealing with so much. It's not only year-round, it's year-round stress, right? It's different than year-round job. It's year-round stress. Do you think it makes sense for a program knocking on the door of a national championship, or a coach of a program knocking on the door, or one of the top 10 programs in college football, to really think about the NFL? Because financially it's better, but also they replace you a lot quicker in the NFL.
I think it'd be stupid not to think about it. If you haven't had a lot of NFL experience, you do have to factor in, if you're having a lot of success in your current job, hey, do I really want to take the opportunity cost of what I could accomplish at this place versus taking that step to have a less workload, no doubt, right, with everything that goes into being a head coach in college, if you're an NFL head coach. Is that sort of piece worth it to give up something where you're having success? I think it's an individual decision, David, for every coach as to what they want to do. We actually had this discussion on our show yesterday where I'm a little surprised there's not more college names being floated for some of these jobs. And I actually randomly mentioned David Shaw, who was a guy at Stanford that every coaching cycle in the NFL, he was mentioned for a job, that he was sort of the NFL-ready type coach when he was at Stanford. And lo and behold, last night we catch word that David Shaw actually interviewed for the Bears job. So I think that would make some sense. If I'm looking at college coaches that I think would translate well to the NFL, Dan Lanning, Steve Sarkisian would be another one. I think Kenny Dillingham is going to be successful wherever he ends up. But those are just a few names that comes to mind. There's not a lot of guys that are really good in college right now that I would immediately jump to and say, oh, that's a no-brainer for an NFL team. I do think we're in a spot right now where a lot of the good college coaches are really good college coaches. And I don't see that necessarily translating to the league.
Talking to Chad Withrow here on TexAgs Live. Chad, it was a rough end of the season for A&M. November was terrible. December was not good either. I'm in a weird spot when it comes to evaluating them because I'm still in a very much wait-and-see mode. But I believe in Coach Elko. There's something about the way, and look, press conferences don't tell you everything, but the way he interacts with his guys, how detail-oriented he is, and I know what the program looked like before he got there. But I'm in a point where I'm like, I still got to wait and see. Where are you with Texas A&M based on every year, like they're knocking on the door and then they're completely not knocking?
I really like Mike Elko. I think he's a ball coach. I think he's no nonsense. I think there's a lot of points in time where it's kind of the perfect intersection of coach and program and what that program needs from a culture standpoint. And I'm not saying that Jimbo Fisher wasn't a ball coach or any of that, but it feels like Mike Elko is kind of what Texas A&M needed. It's almost like a dash of cold water over the face to wake you up, but also sort of humble things out a little bit, where A&M got so much talk under Jimbo Fisher and very few results. In the end, I think Mike Elko is all substance-driven, right? You know exactly where he's coming from. You know exactly what type of guy he is. His players understand that consistency. I think that level of consistency is really going to help A&M. He's also a great defensive coach, which is going to help. You have the resources there that's going to back him, where he's going to be able to get really good players. So I thought it was a very successful year one. It was a disappointing end. I was surprised as much as anyone they lost to USC with how many players USC had out in that game. But all in all, I think you got to feel good about season one under Elko and what's to come for that program. I think you look out across the SEC, and this is a fascinating offseason because they weren't the best conference in college football this year. I'm willing to call it and say it. The Big Ten was better. Now, the Big Ten's also very top-heavy. I think the bottom of the SEC was probably better than the bottom half of the Big Ten, but the top of the SEC was not as good as the top of the Big Ten. So who's going to emerge? Because you got the teams that had success that aren't really going to go anywhere. Georgia, Tennessee, Texas. I'm talking about the three teams that made the playoff. I think are going to be right there in the mix for that again next year. But A&M isn't going to sit still. LSU isn't going to sit still. Alabama looks like a train wreck right now. Is that true? Or are they going to turn it around this offseason to be really good next year? Florida's going to get better, right? South Carolina is going to return a lot and should be pretty good next year. I think it's a fascinating offseason going into next year of what this conference is going to look like. And I fully expect Mike Elko and Texas A&M to be a player in that discussion.
Yeah, I'm not a believer that the SEC is completely down. I think this year, like you said, Big Ten is better. Maybe I'm in the minority. I think Georgia wins the national championship last year if they were let in. I think they were better than Michigan last year. This year, I think Ohio State, obviously, it looks like the best team. So let's kind of caddy what's left there. Ohio State, Texas, huge matchup. Obviously, I'm rooting for the Buckeyes in this one. If Ohio State plays the way they played the last couple of weeks, they're going to run away with it. If Texas plays the way they've played the last couple of weeks, I think Ohio State runs away with it still.
We have Ohio State great Bobby Carpenter come on our show every week, who hosts a bunch of shows, and obviously a big Ohio State guy, lives in Columbus. And I asked him yesterday about Ohio State, and I said, do you think that the loss to Michigan was necessary to go on this run for Ohio State, that they needed that level of anger and motivation, and nobody thinks we're good, and everybody thinks we're all of that? Did they need it? And he kind of paused, said, I don't know, because it's tough to go back and see when a total reset happened. But whatever happened in that game offensively is where Chip Kelly changed. And Chip Kelly just decided, which everyone in college football knew, hey, I got 3 of the best receivers in the country. Any one of these 3 guys would be the number 1 receiver on pretty much any other team across America. And I've got probably the best freshman receiver in the history of the sport. Let's throw it deep with these guys. Let's give them a chance to change the game. That softened up the defensive line. They've been able to run it also. I said when I saw the first half against Tennessee that if this Ohio State team shows up, they will win the national championship with ease. And they beat Oregon. They're up 34-0 in that game in the first half. I think they're going to handle Texas. Texas really has been a good team, but not overly impressive with how they've had to win games. I think Ohio State's the best team in the country right now. I really like them against the Longhorns. I think on the other side, I like Notre Dame to get it done. I think I've been sleeping on Notre Dame ever since that loss to Northern Illinois, but I'm really impressed with just their knowledge of their own identity. They know exactly who they are. A great defensive team that's got a stable of good running backs and a quarterback who's essentially another running back who's really good at what he does. So I like their identity against Penn State, and I think Ohio State's going to continue to roll. I really do. I think they're your national champion. And I don't know that they're going to have a game that's single digits moving forward the way they're playing. They're clearly the best roster in college football, and they finally decided to call plays and play like that.
Chad, if the season ended tomorrow for Penn State or for Ohio State, have James Franklin and Ryan Day done enough to change the narrative around what they do and their programs?
So Ryan Day, no, and James Franklin, no. And here's why. James Franklin was gifted the greatest draw that you could get. You could talk your way around it all you want if you're a Penn State fan, but getting SMU at home, especially the way SMU played in that game, and then getting Boise State, that is a dream draw. If you're going to play in that first round of the college football playoff, I can't think of a more favorable draw than getting those 2 teams. So they did to me what they were supposed to do. They were impressive against SMU. I didn't think they were going to blow them out the way they did. But they won that game. They won with relative ease against Boise State. I expected both of those things. Winning this next round would be the unexpected. This is a toss-up game. If he does that in this environment and he gets the national championship game, I do think that the narrative around James Franklin changes a lot because now we've seen him compete and play in a national championship game. But he's got to win this next round. Is that fair? I don't know, but that's just reality. Because he really hasn't won in this spot before, and we know about his record against top teams on the road. For Ryan Day, I think it's win a national title or bust. I really do. I think anything short of that, and Ohio State fans are going to complain. Ohio State fans refused to show up for a playoff game because they lost to Michigan and allowed 35,000 Tennessee fans to take over their stadium, which I never thought would happen in the shoe. So Ohio State fans are fickle. They are knowledgeable also. They know how good this roster is. They know now the potential of this team because they've seen it in their last 2 playoff games. So anything but a national championship for Ryan Day will be a disappointment for that fan base.
Chad, great stuff, brother. Thanks so much for your time, man. Happy New Year. Let's talk soon.
Always fun, David. Appreciate you having me on. Let's definitely do it soon.
Take care, buddy. Chad Withrow there on the Boss Firearms Hotline. We'll hit a break, come back with a few seconds on the other side. Right now, we're talking Heritage Films. That is Chance McClain's company. They make documentary films about families, about family businesses, family ranches, and they want to tell your story. And if you haven't thought about telling your story or your family story, you're missing out, guys, because my parents are getting older. We did my dad's story a couple years ago. My dad's 94 years old, and luckily he's still with us, and Sharp and my mom as well. And, there's a lot of stories, though, that, like, if we didn't do this heritage film, I wouldn't be able to tell my kids the kind of clarity, like, that my dad went back to, not only being born in 1930, but escaping Cuba, meeting my mom, all these great stories that I know the story, but I don't say it with the same kind of clarity that he does, and the details and the pictures and it's just awesome. And we did that. Chance McClain captured it for us, 2-hour documentary. It worked for our family. It can work for yours as well. It's something that you guys can watch together, be therapeutic, and just an awesome, awesome event. The website is yourheritagefilm.com, yourheritagefilm.com, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. Couple of minutes left here, if that, on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go back to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. I know there's been some chat on the YouTube page, Callie, and one of the folks, let's see if I can pick it up here, was talking about the easiest path to the playoffs.
Yeah, we have a text or a chat, and they were talking about it, and he says, how about getting Clemson and Arizona State? LOL, the Sips had the easier path.
Yeah, but if they take care of business against Ohio State, then, look, at this point...
Yeah, I feel like we keep pushing it off.
Look, I think we're comparing the SEC to what we went through, and it's just not the same thing for everybody every year.
Right.
Alabama was down this year. Let's face it, they were down. Georgia was down for Georgia standards, even though they went to the playoffs, right? And they had quarterback injury. Here's the thing about Texas. They're still standing.
Yeah.
I'm hoping they're not standing, this weekend, but they are standing. And if they beat Ohio State, I think everybody would pick them to win the national championship. Although, I don't think they played particularly well in the second half of many games. The Texas game, the A&M game, the Arizona State game, the Clemson game, those were all questionable games.
Totally. Yeah, you can't look at the crossover matchups, but if they were to face Notre Dame, they beat Georgia, who beat them twice. But I don't think Notre Dame is a good matchup for Texas. So I don't know.
Look, Ohio State I thought before the season started, they were the best team in college football. Then they didn't look very good. And, but right now they look like they figured it out.
Yeah,
are we going to get
on fire.
Ohio State team that played against Michigan? You're going to get this Ohio State team you've seen the last few weeks. All right, that's going to do it for TexAgs Live on a Tuesday. We'll see you mañana.